The same can't be said for me, Gaara's mother said to her daughter. My seal is still too weak to prevent my chakra from reaching you, but it will only be in small amount. You will keep most of your powers, but you won't be able to transform or hear me. However, I will be able to hear and protect you to a degree. Thank you, Mother, Gaara said with respect. I have no faith in you, humans, but I unfortunately can't take my daughter's protection in my own paws completely. I don't need to tell you what I'm going to do to you in case she's harmed. The Konoha nins narrowed their eyes, surprised. The Shukaku shrugged, and a little hole appeared in front of it, black and shadowy. Your way to your friend's mind, Yamanaka. Hurry up before I change my mind and slaughter you all. She's right, the blonde confirmed, looking at his allies. Jump in it after me, he said, leaping into the hole and falling. Naruto took the sand girl's hand. Ready, Gaara-chan. The redhead nodded, and the two jumped in the hole, under their Biju's vigilant watch. They fell for several seconds through the darkness, before light overtook their eyes. When Gaara regained her sense of sight, she was in the middle of a street. She was surrounded by houses, shops, and people were walking, talking, as if nothing worthwhile had happened. Gaara quickly noticed Naruto was there, as they were holding hands. Makoto, her husband, Itachi, and the blonde man were also there, standing still. It looks like Konoha, Itachi wondered out loud. Such degree of precision, he even made false odors. I can see the Hokage monument, Fugaku pointed out, looking at a mountain with face sculpted on it. This is a perfect replica of Konoha. Except one thing. Your face isn't there, Makoto said, breathing deeply. Kitsune. Naruto wondered, looking at a blonde kid at the opposite end of the street. He was another Naruto Uzumaki, talking to a copy of Sasuke and one girl with black hair and white eyes. Kitsune, she shouted, advancing toward him, until a hand stopped her. He can't hear you. The voice was soft, yet unnatural. Gaara turned at its source, the blonde man called Yamanaka. His eyes had turned red. He doesn't even see you. The blonde man went past them, and faced the group. He was possessed. His senses are under my total control. You, bastard, Fugaku rasped in rage. What did you do to Inoichi? I overrode him. You see, Fugaku, identity is nothing more than an assemblage of memories covering a soul, like a shell. Souvenirs are the true essence of people. Someone with amnesia is like reincarnated form of his previous self. I can induce false experiences in others, allowing me to rewrite memories, and hence a whole identity. Think of it as the overriding of a person's mind. Inoichi Yamanaka still exists somewhere, his soul is just repressed by my own identity for the moment. A mask wearing its wearer. You couldn't do this before, Itachi stated, obviously on guard. I spent 6 years, I think, in Naruto's mindscape, repressed by his demons and madness. I had the time to invent new tricks. Itachi. The illusion changed form, turning into what looked like an adult version of Naruto and wearing Kage's robes. We both improved, I more than you. The Yondaime. Naruto's jaw had dropped in astonishment. No, this is just a joke, Itachi replied. He always loved theatrics. In the real world, I used to be an illusionist. But in this realm of thoughts, I am greater than Uchiha Madara and Hashirama Senju combined. The false Kage looked at his hands. I didn't even have a mere idea of the power I could obtain, once reduced to this state. My illusions were outsiders, mere techniques to control an external entity. As a memory, I am an integral part of this mental world. I am this world. I am everywhere, passengers whispered, their eyes red too. They were all glaring at the group, making Gaara uneasy. In every corner. In every place. Everywhere, all the time. You cannot escape my watch. I could barely influence minds in life, and now in death, I can remake them at will, the false Hokage said. You didn't see that coming, did you, Itachi? I didn't expect Inoichi to be so easily crushed, the Godime admitted coldly. But against someone with the Sharingan, it will be different. I am a Genjutsu expert too. You would be surprised by just how wrong you are and just how outmatched you are, the illusionist chuckled. The only reason you still exist is because of the respect I have for you, and that I don't want to leave your brother completely orphaned. Itachi narrowed his eyes. So there is still some shred of humanity left in you. Am I wrong, Shisui? The illusion smiled. His whole body began to twist and change. Gaara was now facing a young man with short black hair and two red, Sharingan eyes. He was wearing black clothes similar to the masked man Gaara had been knocked out by. So you do remember my name. But humanity, what do you know of humanity, when you are just a mere memory, the mere remnant of a dead man? And what do we Uchiha know of humanity, anyway? We are born corrupt, tainted by the sins of our ancestors. You are yourself an Uchiha, Fugaku glared. Shisui's face twisted in cold anger. Blood might link us, but I'm nothing like you, Fugaku. How dare you try to ruin Naruto's life again, you and your whore of a wife. Betraying Kushina-sama and Minato-sama wasn't enough for you. You still want to ruin whatever happiness I gave their son. What is this gibberish? Fugaku narrowed his eyes, trying and failing to understand what the man was talking about. Happiness. Naruto shouted at the illusionist, angered. This is pointless cruelty. A mere illusion. This is better than reality in his case, the raving Uchiha replied. He's consumed by guilt. My clan destroyed whatever childhood he had and the Kyuubi forced him to kill dozens of innocents out of pointless sadism. But here, he's innocent. He has friends. He has people who love him for who he is. His hands are clean. Shisui smiled sadly. He has everything he ever wanted. But this isn't reality. Naruto shouted. It's all fake. It couldn't have happened another way, the Uchiha replied. It was the only way to cure him of his madness and seal the Kyuubi completely. This was the only way for him to be safe and happy. Try to understand me. There is always another way, Fugaku stated. Sarutobi-sama taught me this, and I will never forget this lesson. You are simply shaming yourself, Konoha, and the Uchiha clan. Shame. You, of all people, think I'm a shame. The man's eyes were burning with cold rage. I am redeeming the clan. I am atoning for my and your sins. How dare you talk about shame? I'm finally doing something good. And Konoha, your Konoha, this twisted perversion of the Shadaime's dream, only deserves to be burnt to ashes. This place is the only real Konoha. You're insane, Fugaku spat. You have been tricked by your own illusions. Please, Shisui, Makoto began. Calm yourself. Silence. He lashed out, raising one hand. You won't destroy this paradise. I won't let you. The two suddenly vanished in a puff of smoke. What did you to them? Itachi asked, for once showing true and pure anger. He began to make hand seals almost faster than Gaara's eyes could follow, but nothing happened. This is my world. Shisui's eyes were like an inferno. I decide who wins, who loses. They will be tortured again and again and again and again, forever. They deserve nothing else than pure pain for all eternity. He suddenly calmed himself. They deserve it, Itachi. Don't you remember what they did? I will tell you all over again. He looked at Naruto. You too deserve to know what they did. You are Naruto Namikaze, no. I saw you in Naruto's memories, you must know who you are. He wavered his hands, and the two vanished like Itachi's parents. Naruto. Gaara shouted, her lips working on their own. She gathered her chakra. They're safe. I don't want them any harm, Shisui stated, before a cloud of sand went through him, as if he was nothing but a phantasm. I don't want you to suffer either. You're a victim of the real world too. Bring her back, Gaara ordered, tears dripping from her eyes. I am sorry, Shisui vanished. I can only bring you this paradise. And Gaara found herself alone, in a street made of madness and illusions. The girl, Naruto. She awoke in Makoto's mansion. To be precise, in the kitchen. It seemed slightly different, the decoration being poorer, the walls being smaller. Another illusion, she thought. Unable to control herself, she sat in front of someone else. She instantly recognized a slightly younger Fugaku. You wanted to see me, Fugaku-sama. Naruto's mouth said on its own. The girl was a prisoner of her own body. I did, the Uchiha leader nodded. He locked eyes with Naruto. You appear tired. You used the pills again. If I don't, the nightmares return, Naruto's mouth replied, and her eyes narrowed in shame. She looked at her hands. Adult hands. The Sharingan forces me to relive the war every night. This is not my body, Naruto realized, this is not my voice. It was Shisui's. Their faces, all the dead, all the torture, all the wounds, the images always return to haunt me. This is the Sharingan's curse, Fugaku said with some hint of sadness in his voice. We all learn to deal with it, as you shall in time. Fleeing won't help you. You are strong. Itachi's strong. But I'm not. I'm an illusionist, I hide behind tricks to survive. I'm not a warrior, just a spy and an infiltrator. But I assume you didn't summon me for talking about this. Fugaku frowned. I need you to accomplish a mission. One that is vital to the clan's survival. Shisui locked eyes with the man. I assume it is about the Anbu watching us all the time. Everybody is disturbed. The clan is slowly being isolated, Fugaku nodded. We are being forced to live in the compound all the time, the Anbu is watching us, and our members are expelled one by one from important posts. Konoha obviously intends to reduce us to prisoners, like Uchiha Madara prophesied. Why would the Sandaime do this? Naruto asked at the same time as Shisui. He's a good and just leader, if a bit old. He is willing to listen to the voice of reason. He did accept to give his post to Minato. After the Orochimaru debacle, Fugaku agreed. But it took the inner council reforming for him to accept it. We disbanded the organization after the Yondaime's nomination, but I think it is time for it to reform if we want to have the power to oppose the Sandaime's decrees. It is vital for our clan's sake. However, the meetings I had with the other clan heads went poorly. They refused for the same reason the Sandaime is persecuting us. Fugaku joined his fingers. They think we're responsible for the Kyuubi's attack. What? Naruto wondered, unable to understand. But, Shisui's hands shook. How could they even imagine this idiocy? You were an ardent supporter of the Yondaime, and Makoto was his wife's teammate. She was Kushina's best friend. The Kyuubi's escape was an accident. Kushina, Naruto inwardly realized. Kurama's former container. She was the Yondaime's wife. Unfortunately, it wasn't, Fugaku whispered. An investigation made by Danzo led to disturbing discoveries. It has been proved the Sandaime's wife, Bawako, and most of the Yondaime's bodyguards had been assassinated by a swordsman when Kushina was giving birth to Minato's son. A closer examination of her broken seal also made abundantly clear it had been shattered manually. Our clan's eyes are known for being able to tame the Kyuubi. Do the math. The Yondaime had a son. This is madness. Shisui tightened his fists. Only Uchiha Madara and his brother ever managed such a feat, and they're both dead. Yet, Konoha's leadership got the idea one of us had freed the Kyuubi and unleashed it on Konoha, Fugaku stated. I wonder how long it will take them to decide to eliminate us permanently. The Sandaime would neigh. He would, the other Uchiha cut in. Or Danzo would take the matter in his own bloody hands and exterminate us without anyone's avail. I asked Itachi to spy on them, but I'm beginning to wonder if it isn't the other way around. Only the inner council would be powerful enough to preserve us. It must be reformed, with or without its members' will. You don't suggest. I want you to use your mind control jutsu on the most important figures of the village, Fugaku confirmed. Implant the undermine the Hokage's policies by all means necessary, unless they are beneficial to the Uchiha, and support the Uchiha clan command in their mind. The Sandaime and Danzo are too prudent to let you reach them, so we have to go for other powerful individuals like clan heads and influential civilians. This is a coup in all but name, Shisui whispered, obviously uneasy. It's for the clan's sake, Shisui, Fugaku said calmly. I wish there was another way. I promise nothing bad will happen to the village. This is the safest way. This, Shisui whispered. This is for the clan. It is, Fugaku nodded, taking something in his pocket. It was a little, rounded mirror he immediately gave to Shisui. Like all Junin, you have been trained to resist the Yamanaka's tricks, but Ibiki or Itachi, should he turns traitor, might be too much for you, in case you are discovered. You know what you have to do. Shisui nodded slowly, and observed his pale face reflect in the mirror. The Sharingan was red, like blood. I will never inform anyone, except those already aware of it, about this mission, and never give any hint that might lead to its discovery. The Sharingan's tomo shifted, and Naruto lost herself in them. You will undermine the Hokage's authority by reforming the inner council and oppose his policies by all means necessary, unless they are beneficial to the Uchiha clan. You will also support the Uchiha clan in its decisions. When Naruto regained her sense of self, she was in front of an adult, male version of Hinata. Understood. Good, Shisui said, vanishing with a shunshin. He walked into the Uchiha compound, and entered Fugaku's mansion. Hyuga Hiyashi, Shikaku Nara, a few important merchants, the others will follow, Shisui muttered to himself, silently opening the door. Approaching from the kitchen, whispers came to the Uchiha's ears. I am deeply disappointed by you, Fugaku, and you too, Makoto. I expected more from my descendants. The voice was awfully familiar, and Naruto inwardly frowned. Madara. Discreetly, Shisui looked at the door's corner, observing the scene hidden. Fugaku and Makoto were talking to the armored Madara, Amaterasu. Lord Madara, Fugaku whispered, bowing slightly. Our coup won't succeed without your help. These are the words of a coward, the murderous bastard replied harshly. You have brainwashed others into helping you, am I wrong? Then use them. You are the mightiest warrior of all time, Makoto said. Your help would be invaluable. I do not care. You wanted to stand against Konoha, and you will do it as warriors. I will just observe your work. But you already helped us against Konoha once, Fugaku complained. Amaterasu's twisted Sharingan began to shine slightly. You came to me with a deal, and I accepted it. You wanted me to take care of the Yondaime and his wife so you could become Godime, Fugaku. In exchange, you sold me your friends. He chuckled. You enjoyed it, didn't you, Makoto? Betraying your teammate. It was for the sake of the Uchiha clan, she said calmly without a hint of regret. No, it was jealousy that led you to inform me of Uzumaki Kushina's location, Amaterasu hissed. You were jealous of her power, of her will, of her marriage with Namikaze Minato. You wanted to switch place with her when she wed the Yondaime in secret. You never wanted to marry Fugaku, but your marriage was arranged for the clan Sake. He chuckled sinisterly. I can see your whole story in your eyes, for I am a pure Uchiha, and my eyes all-knowing. Makoto bowed her head in shame. Fugaku stayed emotionless, not caring about the situation. Shisui was shivering, and Naruto couldn't think straight, horrified by the situation. This is a lie, just a lie. And it was pride and lust for power that led you, Fugaku, to betray your lord. You falsely supported him, yet inwardly you were just as jealous as your wife. You are just a parody of the true Uchiha breed. Nothing more. Amaterasu crossed his arms. No matter. You came to me one night and showed me Kushina's lair, allowing me to release the Kyuubi. Konoha was to be burned to the ground, and your compound protected. I never had any intention to help you anymore. You called me for nothing. Unless, Fugaku asked, hopeful to get the man's help. The Kyuubi, Amaterasu stated simply. Bring me the Kyuubi's vessel, and I will consider helping you. We will, Lord Madara, Makoto promised, much to Naruto's horror. Space twisted, and Amaterasu began to vanish. I will look forward to watching your land burn. When the monster had left, Fugaku's face twisted into a scowl. Asshole, I will have to take dispositions to make sure Minato's brat never becomes a menace. It seems we'll have to start the coup earlier than expected. Lord Madara is an army all on his own. This will lead to a civil war, Makoto pointed out. Madara will not hesitate to damage the city as much as he can. Fugaku simply smiled. Who cares? As long as we take Konoha over, we can tolerate a few deaths. I prefer the clan to rule a grave than not rule at all. Shisui silently left, his whole body shivering, and exited the mansion. Naruto herself couldn't believe the illusion. There must be a trick, it's a lie. Spying on people, Shisui. This is not polite to listen to the doors. Shisui instantly rotated, and locked eyes with Amaterasu. Don't hurt me, the illusionist whispered in dread. Your jutsu can't work against someone as experienced as me, Madara chuckled, twisting space. The two found themselves atop the Hokage monument. Surprised. Are you? Naruto could hear Shisui's always faster heartbeat. Are you really? Uchiha Madara. The man shrugged. Of course I am. Don't you feel the closeness between us? My brother's blood runs in your veins, Shisui. Which is fortunate, your blood wasn't tainted by my wife's. You are pure, a proud son of the true Uchiha clan. I shall not kill you, I can't bring myself to destroy my brother's seed. Madara's hand suddenly caught Shisui's neck, and lifted the illusionist above the ground. Naruto could feel the man's grip straining Shisui's breath. The monster forced the illusionist to look at Konoha. Tell me, what do you see? Konoha, the hidden village of the leaves. I see the most despicable place on earth, Amaterasu whispered. If the sentence, I spit on you, was written on all walls of this damn city, it wouldn't even be close of representing a tenth of the sheer hate I have for this land and the worms populating it. Shisui was obviously struggling to breath. But soon, it shall all end, Amaterasu stated. My corrupted descendant will make sure of it. They will cause the village to implode and its citizens to devour each other for all it's worth, for they are not warriors but betrayers. And I shall stand on this mountain and watch as Hashirama's dream crumbles to dust before my eyes. But, you said. I said I would consider helping my brethren. Amaterasu's voice was cold and emotionless. I never lie, as this is dishonorable. It is not my fault if they had to interpret my words the wrong way. I will indeed consider helping them, and decide against it. He chuckled. The irony, betrayers being killed thanks to their own greed and because they expected not be backstabbed themselves. The clan. We are hate and ambition made human, Amaterasu replied. We gain ultimate power by killing our loved ones and obtaining our siblings' eyes, and our gift forces us never to forget what we did. That is the Uchiha's curse of hatred. We can only grow strong through conflict and bloodshed, until we become war-embodied. But Yumi's teachings corrupted this ideology. We have been reduced to backstabbers and treacherous worms. For humiliating their proud ancestors and bringing shame to our once good name, the current generation must be wiped out. Amaterasu threw Shisui's body on the ground behind himself, and stood there, staring at Konoha. That inner council you founded, my dear Shisui, will run this place onto the ground. A civil war shall erupt, and the fourth ninja war will begin. The delicate balance between the hidden villages shall crumble, and the world will be reborn into one of eternal warfare, one that will last forever. I will make sure of it. Only Hiashi and Shikaku, Shisui rasped defiantly, laying helpless on the ground. The rest is loyal. You would be surprised by the ephemeral nature of loyalty, Amaterasu said. Trust my experience. All it takes for mass treason to happen is a few people to start it, and the rest will follow. Others will join your thralls, either out of friendship, greed, ambition, or just basic instincts. In all human minds, an engine of destruction sleeps, waiting to be unleashed. This is human nature. One man doesn't make a revolution, a dictatorship, or an hidden village. It is the thousands of people powering it all the time. The best part, Shisui, is that thanks to your own jutsu, you will be powerless to prevent Konoha's destruction from happening. Amaterasu turned around. In the end, you were a proud son of the Uchiha clan. You served murderers all your life. I will kill the ringleaders, Shisui rasped. All the higher members of the Uchiha clan are in Fugaku's plot. Even if you could kill dozens of Junin and Chunin on your own, your slaughter would only increase the worries about the Uchiha clan's sanity. There is no escape, Shisui, no other way. There will be either a war or total destruction for the clan. In the battle for life, you live or you die. No middle ground. As Amaterasu vanished, tears of humiliation began to drip from Shisui's eyes. The scene changed again, and Naruto found herself in her apartment. It was dark, probably late in the night. Shisui was standing in front of a bed. Under a blanket, Kitsune was sleeping. Indeed, I was a good son of the Uchiha clan, Shisui whispered, eyeing the little boy. I only ever brought misery to those around me. You of all people, will suffer the most from my mistakes and the clan's sins. The illusionist narrowed his head. Fugaku called a meeting with the rest of the inner council. Hiashi and Shikaku weren't the only clan heads present. Inoichi, Shibi, alongside other important people. They decided to start a coup, and Fugaku will probably sell you to Madara all for nothing. They will make sure you can never be the powerful and respected ninja you should have been. Shisui tightened his fists in rage. Madara was right, this place is shit. Just shit. They're all cowards like me. But now, I'm tired of running. He shrugged. Ironic, isn't it? The best genjutsu user of all Konoha is going to walk straight toward death. Itachi will kill me after all, cause I plan to make sure the Uchiha clan die. He'll be my instrument of justice. They won't escape the punishment they deserve, and I won't either. Itachi will kill us all, except Sasuke. I can't bring myself to have Itachi lose everything he adored, plus his brother might be the key to our clan's redemption. He's still untainted. Raising his arm, Shisui opened one of Kitsune's eyelids, and stared into the eye. You will never be lonely again, son of the Yondaime. I will always watch over you. Son of the Naruto gaped inwardly. Does it mean that I am the Yondaime and Kushina's daughter? A surge of pain made her snap out of her thoughts. Shisui was screaming. Claws were ripping apart his stomach as 3 pairs of red eyes watched like malevolent moons observing the earth. Everything was nothing but a crimson haze, full of disturbing noises. I hope you like your new home, Uchiha, a huge, masked, white fox said softly, its sadism hidden behind a false veneer of politeness. Naruto recognized the Kyuubi, but this one had only 3 tails. Because, remember, you shall lie there forever. You can't imagine the joy we feel at having one of your cursed kind at our mercy, a gray, masked and 3-tailed Kyuubi stated, its claws shredding deeper through Shisui's flesh. We have waited for this moment for years. Scream. One last masked Kyuubi roared. Its fur was black, and it had 3 tails too. We want to hear you scream. 3, Kyuubi, Shisui whispered, echoing Naruto's own thoughts. No, we are 1 as 4, the white fox corrected calmly. I am the pride, the gray one is the selfishness, the black one is the rage. As for our vessel, he is pain. How is it possible? As much as Biju can influence their vessel, a vessel can influence its tenant. The selfishness grinned ear to ear. Our connection doesn't work in only one way. His thoughts changed us. The rage was barking like a rabid animal. He gave us individuality. Human, do you think a kid of your kin could live alone and despised by all while staying sane? The pride stared around itself. This red haze is the embodiment of his growing madness. Pain, isolation, impulses, rage, they feed us, make us stronger. The only reason he hasn't snapped yet is because he uses us as a sponge to repress this burning, mad power. Which is good, as he is strengthening us. He's already unstable, the selfishness added happily. One day the pressure will be too much for him to handle and then oh boy he shall snap hard. Cease to talk like a human kid, the pride ordered coldly, the selfishness obeying with a little hint of fear. It is beneath us. Anyhow, this is fortunate one like you fell in this mental hell, we finally have what we needed to alleviate our boredom. Its eyes narrowed at Shisui, while carefully avoiding to cross-gaze with him. A toy. And Shisui screamed. In a blink, Naruto found herself sitting on a chair. She had returned to the Uchiha Mansion's kitchen. But this time, she could control her own movements. She stared at hands, which were, well, her own. Next to her, another chair appeared out of nowhere, Itachi sitting on it. This was my story, a voice finished. Shisui emerged from a corner's shadow, perfectly calm and still. Through my eyes, you have seen it. Now you the scale of our crimes. The Uchiha clan never betrayed the Yondaime. Itachi protested. Madara tracked him and his wife by torturing Anbu with his genjutsu. In your world, maybe. In my own, the Uchiha clan sold our beloved ruler and Uzumaki Kushina for power. Shisui narrowed his eyes in hatred. They had to be wiped out. They had to. You used your mind control technique on me, Itachi realized in horror. You forced me to refuse the Sandame's offer to lead Konoha, you forced me to accept Danzo's proposal. And you killed me for it, the illusionist confirmed. Not that I didn't deserve it. My mental orders to my victims existed past me, and the inner council continued to plague Naruto, the Sandame, and Konoha for years. But Madara never came, and peace lived on. The price had been high indeed, but it had to be paid. It is only in this state of animated memories that I can tell you the whole truth. It is only there my own mental command can't make me silent. This is insane, Itachi stated. Naruto is insane, Shisui confirmed. His madness corrupted the Kyuubi instead of his own mind, just as Yagura's own insanity morphed the Sanbi into a ravenous monster. Fragmented, the Kyuubi began to feed on its vessel's pain, growing stronger and madder. My own psychic tortures empowered the 3 until they became powerful enough to propose a deal to Naruto, after he snapped, one that gave them a permanent foothold in his mind. But when they fought that copy of him, they survived in a weakened state. I broke free from their control, and managed to seal them with the Sharingan. Now, the son of the Yondaime can rest peacefully in this blissful illusion, where no one will ever threaten him again. He frowned. Not even you, Itachi. What about your prisoners? The Godime was seething with anger. Do you intend to keep Kitsune imprisoned forever? And what about my parents? They are not the one that betrayed your Konoha. These two thought about jeopardizing the delicate balance that maintains the real world safe, Shisui replied, his eyes burning with insanity. They are corrupt. They're still Fugaku and Makoto. They bear the taint of the Uchiha, as such they must be purified through endless pain. Naruto will stay there until his body runs out. I will watch over him, and make sure he's safe and happy, for I am his friend, his only friend. Naruto couldn't restrain herself anymore. This is wrong. The two Uchiha stared at her. Shisui's gaze was sinister. This is completely wrong. She shouted. He is not alone. He has always been, Shisui replied sadly. You will never be able to understand his pain. You didn't even find a way to cure him. I will find a way, because he's my brother. Naruto snarled. We have the same blood and parents. We are the children of the Yondaime Hokage and Uzumaki Kushina. We share the same curse. I understand him better than you could ever hope to. Yet you failed, Shisui rasped, enraged. Naruto. He's not Uzumaki Naruto. She shot back. He's Kitsune Arashi, my brother and sibling. And I shall never abandon him. So release him and Itachi's parents now, so we can find a way to help him for real. The void. To humans, the Kyuubi's seal would appear like a prison, their minds interpreting what they were seeing in a way they could understand. To the August Star, it was a web of arrays and chakra powered by the Shinigami's divine essence and containing 3 comatose entities. The August Star knew it was the Sharingan's deed. These eyes, descending from the legendary Rinnegan, had kept a shard of its power and linked to the Biju. Normal Uchiha could restrain a tailed beast's power for a limited time. An Uchiha empowered by the Void's power could control one completely. Shisui Uchiha was somewhat of a middle ground. With the Shinigami's seal keeping most of the Kyuubi's powers in check, he could repress the Biju until he died. Or rather, as long as the seal could stand. Void was undetectable, invisible. When its vessel had tried to enter his brethren's mindscape, he had given the August Star the opportunity to send a little fragment of itself infiltrate the mad boy's brain. It was just a spy. It was not powerful enough to corrupt, it had no significant well of power, and could do almost nothing but watch events unfold. It could only hide from Shisui's eternal watch. Yet, these newcomers had allowed it to make a move. Shisui was too focused on its visitors to notice what the Void was about to do, until it was too late. He could not prevent the Kyuubi from escaping. Amatsu Mikabashi had nothing personal against these people. If things had turned differently, it would have left them in peace. But their bonds with its vessel were weakening him, preventing him from accepting its planned purpose. The Void touched the seal, its essence connecting with the Shinigamis. These two opposite elements fused and negated each other out of existence, leaving nothing but a gigantic hole in the Kyuubi's prison. Somewhere, 3 pairs of eyes slowly began to open. Omake. Zombie world. They're everywhere, Kazama said, with a sinister voice. He and Tsukiyomi were in a deserted street, having temporarily set aside their grudge to fight a common menace. They know no fear, and no shame, Madara added, preparing to defend his life with everything he had. They're the worst menace you shall ever face, young one. They come. Kazama whispered. Suddenly, a legion of walking cadavers walked toward them. Kakashi, Jiraiya, Sakura. They were all dead, turned into shameless monsters by a deadly virus. They stopped in front of the duo, and began to use their dreaded ultimate technique. Undead moonwalk. The undead began to glide backward. We must resist, Madara said. I can't, Kazama said, as his feet began to move on their own. Hell, Madara cursed, his body beginning to obey the power of moonwalk. He ended up joining the group of dancing undead. What kind of sick guy designed a story like this? Currently, they are scattered in 4 worlds. Shidaime, Madara World, Chibaku, Sasori, Haku, Kubaiko. Godaime, Itachi World, Kitsune, Gaara, Naruto. Mystery World for now Kazama, Tsukiyomi, Susanoo. Alive, Yondaime World, Kakashi, Yugito. Chapter 24, Thought Crime. I apologize, Miss Yuki, the masked woman said, as 2 of her colleagues flanked the young lady. But this is for your sake. It is a simple check-up. Why? She asked, masked men observing Kubaiko and Sasori. One was looking into a red notebook, its pages covered with pictures. Standing still beside the mysterious female Anbu, Chibaku mentally prepared himself, just in case a fight broke out. He was aware Sasori was preparing himself to strike as well, and probably Kubaiko too. The worst thing is that it had only taken them 1 hour after Madara's speech to be intercepted by a patrol. This is to preserve this city's security, the female replied. She looked at the person with the notebook. So, The faces correspond, the masked Anbu replied, with a stern male voice. He pointed a finger at Chibaku's master. Sasori, a worker of the Ministry of Information, dormant bloodline wielder. The finger switched target for Kubaiko. Renji Senju, member of the Senju clan, dormant bloodline wielder. He closed the notebook. Nothing to report. The Senju, one of the masked men, cracked his fingers in an unreadable manner. That clan had been relocated by Alpha within the last month. I thought 3 had collected them all. A regretful misdeed. They missed him, another nodded, before looking at Chibaku. Thank you for finding him, new one. It was nothing, Chibaku replied, scratching the back of his mask. The cloth was beginning to stick to his skin too much for his comfort. The Yuki clan is next, the man with the notebook said. Most of them have been evacuated already. This lady is late, very late. I apologize, Mr. Senju and Miss Yuki, but we'll have to put you under house arrest for a while, one of the masked women said. Your clans have been relocated toward the south, to protect them from Taka's continued treacherous attacks, as per Lord Madara's orders. You'll join them, when we evacuate another clan. Economy of resources, you understand. You, worker, the man with the notebook said, pointing his finger at Sasori. You follow them. Nobody must know there are still a Yuki and a Senju here, or the rebels might try to target them. Consider it a reward for your services. This is an honor, Sasori replied, faking obedience. With his experience, Chibaku could sense the displeasure and sarcasm beneath the facade. May I know where are we staying, and for how long? Kubaiko politely asked, most probably so Chibaku could know where they were. Classified, the man with the notebook replied offhandedly. It won't last more than a few days, I think. You can take off your armor, by the way. We are the Anbu, no one will threaten you under our watch. And if one were to slip through it? Haku replied. A chuckle answered her. We are always watching, for we have 50,000 eyes, the man replied, waving his hand. Take them away, and assign them to their residence. You, new one, you stay. Chibaku almost prepared to protest, but Sasori caressed his sleeve. Recognizing the code, the puppet master's apprentice shut his mouth, understanding his master would do fine on his own. He silently saw them walk away, flanked by 4 Anbu. I'm still amazed they managed to slip through 3's web, no matter. We have them. The man with the red notebook eyed Chibaku. Want to drink a bit, new one? I'm kind of tired right now, so why not chat it up around a bottle of sake? 20. An Anbu crossed its arms in anger. Chibaku recognized the voice of the woman he had met when he had entered the city. Look at him. He's too young. Then he will take milk. Like you, 90. Consider your guard over. But Alpha. Alpha is lenient with rookies, and it's within my rights to alleviate you from your duties. Unless we cross path with 3 or, Alpha forbids, 5, there shouldn't be a problem. The woman looked ready to protest, but stayed silent. Alright, she finally muttered. But if things go bad, I'll take full responsibility. The man, 20, looked at Chibaku. Do you know the Shunshin? Yes, he nodded. Then this shouldn't bother you, the man said, putting his hand on the boy's shoulder. In a flash, they found themselves in the middle of a brown, large room. Big candelabras were lighting the place, which looked a lot like a bar. There were multiple tables, with people sitting on chairs, and a counter. The bartender stared at the 2 newcomers. Chibaku almost had an heart attack. Hello, Kazama said, or someone looking like his twin. He seemed slightly older, but, what will it be today? 1 sake bottle, 2 milk cups, the man with the red notebook commanded, taking away his mask. Blonde hair, blue eyes, a pale adult face. Oh, come on, the female Anbu said, appearing next to Chibaku. Removing her mask, she revealed long blonde hair, blue eyes, and a beautiful face. Naruto. Chibaku's eyes widened. No, she looks like 10 years older. Guys, girls. The man with the notebook shouted, absent-mindedly taking away Chibaku's mask. We have a new customer. Be nice and say hello. All the customers looked at the young puppeteer with their blue eyes, scaring him shitless. Welcome. Around a dozen older copies of himself shouted at the same time. The puppet master, Sasori. We shall split up for the time, the Anbu leader stated, as they reached a crossroad. He touched Haku's shoulder. I will escort her. We shall meet at Utopia. As he used a shunshin to vanish with the girl almost instantly, Sasori focused on the little spying device he had discreetly attached to the man's armor. His soul could understand the special frequency, allowing him to listen to what the man was saying. He hated not being in control of the situation. It happened more and more frequently these days. The puppet master was a creature of order, and more a spider than scorpion. Sasori only felt good when controlling his web, made of deceits, traps and tricks, allowing him to be aware of every vibration and protect himself. Too bad the web had been utterly destroyed the second those damn Uchiha had entered his life. Sasori was angry, mostly at himself. Everything had gone to hell recently. He had barely survived the fights he had participated in. He at best managed to escape with his life in all his battles with Madara, losing much of his priceless collection in the process and surviving humiliated. He had been outmatched by that demonic creature, and barely matched Cloud's forces. True, all his opponents had been extremely strong, yet it was infuriating nonetheless. He had to find a way to improve, and fast. Mr. Anbu, where are we headed? To heaven, Miss Yuki. Noises of struggle were heard, putting Sasori on his guard. He had guessed something was wrong when they separated, as it would only weaken them. Lord 5. The man had begun talking, and Sasori focused on him. We have noticed infiltrators. My men are currently bringing them to Utopia. Sasori observed his surroundings, preparing to strike. For Anbu, and without anyone else to witness their death. Lord 5. Lord 5, do you feel Finn? Explain what you mean by infiltrators. It was the voice of the strange killer they had seen outside the center. Somehow, it sounded different, more aggressive, less calm. 3 people were escorted by one of us. 1, this girl, is a certified Yuki according to her features and chakra, but the others, we concocted a false story on the spot and tricked them. 1 is a total unknown, and the other's chakra signature matches the Senju. Yet, I killed the last of them personally. Sasori's eyes narrowed in suspicion. Slowly, painfully, after smashing his son's head against a wall, I see who you are talking about, the voice sounded professional again. The man was probably bipolar, maybe unstable. I was in a hurry to kill the snake's goons, so I didn't bother checking them out. The clone I saw was a rookie, and the Yuki is young. They might have been deceived. Or maybe this Yuki is a fake. I wondered how she could have slipped through 3's watch. She assured Alpha all the Yuki had been brought to Utopia and assimilated. Clone. Sasori thought, the pieces of the puzzle beginning to assemble themselves. Assimilated. What do we do about them? Do we send them to the work camps? Looking at the shortages, I assume they lack slaves to make furniture for the populace. So that's how they maintain their economy, Sasori thought. Of course. They must keep slaves from raids, instead of killing all the inhabitants. Why waste resources? No need. The final protocol has already reached a sufficient stage. The work camps in the countryside are currently being dismantled one by one on 3's command, and their inhabitants assimilated. Shortages are no longer a problem, as are the populace and these infiltrators. I can't imagine how the snake successfully made one of his minions identical to a Senju, but the fact he doesn't know about our takeover is the proof the final protocol is safe. We don't need them. So we assimilate them. Only the Yuki, if she's really one or not, Alpha won't care. Sacrifice the rest to the statue when they reach Utopia. Servants of the snakes deserve nothing less than such pitiful end. Understood. In a calm, nonchalant gesture, Sasori used his water cannon to behead 2 Anbu on the spot. The 2 others barely had the time to blink before being attacked as well. Turning gray, Kubaiko vanished and, faster than the eyes could follow, logged multiple kunai in the Anbu's throat and vital organs. They fell dead on the ground. It was a trap, Sasori said, trying to find an escape route. They are aware we're not citizens. They were leading us to a trap. A deadly one. Crap, Kubaiko stated. I should have guessed. One world where changes were so great couldn't possibly have exact copies of us. What else did you learn? The Senju are all dead. The Anbu exterminated them. Considering Madara is supposedly in charge, it isn't very surprising. Sasori approached one of the non-beheaded corpses, observing the masks. Removing them would be difficult, as they were protected by seals, but... Suddenly, the clothes turned red, blood tainting them. Sasori heard a sickening noise, and watched in morbid fascination as the masks shrank, destroying the face underneath. Efficient, he admitted. But why would they need to do this? Maybe to protect their own infiltrators. Or, hide your face, we're Legion, but no one must know it, it will explode in contact with another's skin. The clone I saw was a rookie. For we are watching you with 50,000 eyes. Or maybe it's because they all have the same face, Sasori realized. They are all clones. What are you talking about? Kubaiko asked. We need to get away. What is this? Impossible. It seems your soldiers are dead, Five's voice whispered with a creepy tone. All units, we have 2 intruders near Utopia. Go butcher them and bring me their heads. We have been discovered, Sasori rasped, angered. The Anbu are coming for us. Sorry, Chibaku, Miss Haku, your rescue will be for another time. We need to flee, and return later once your friends arrive as reinforcement. If the Anbu are after us, we need to escape this city. An audacious idea suddenly came to the puppet master's mind. Or, we could go to the suburbs. You idiot, Five whispered. A loud noise of neck breaking made Sasori focus on the transmission. I know you are listening to me, intruders. I found your device on this moron, he won't have the opportunity to be worthless anymore. Since you must have heard us talking, let me tell you this, just between you and me, this land is ours. Its citizens are ours. Their very minds are ours. We will hunt you and catch you. You shall be destroyed, mind and body, like this whole world has. I will personally beat the very spirit of hope out of your worthless, pitiful brain, just for the sake of it, until you're nothing more than dirt under my shoes. Hope, dreams, I will crush all these meaningless things, until nothing remains in you but despair and pain. I will destroy the very essence of your pointless life. So why don't you welcome death, and embrace your end by my hand? The puppeteer, Chibaku. So you're a new breed. 20 said, drinking his sake. The trio was sitting around a table. The man raised an eyebrow. You don't like milk. I just don't feel well. Chibaku hadn't even touched his cup. He had never experienced such a feeling of oppression. He had never been disturbed before by any of his counterparts, but having dozens of sentient clones around him was just too much. 20 and 90 looked at him strangely. Is it a birth sickness? The latter asked. I thought new breeds didn't need pills. All sicknesses aren't caused by deficient genetic material, 20 replied. A trauma would have been more sudden. Birth sickness? Chibaku asked. Haven't you heard about it? 90 wondered out loud, looking at him as if he were a baby. Older clones are broken. The creation process wasn't truly perfected at the time, so they have a few problems. 20 searched in his pocket, and put a few blue pills on the table. I need to take 2 pills each morning and evening, or else I start having headaches and my heart pulse goes awry. At the end, I risk the cardiac arrest. Bad stuff. Yet, that's tame compared to some of us. What can be worse than a cardiac arrest? Chibaku asked. Let's see. Freeze chakra goes out of control and burns her alive. The 7 series suffers from schizophrenia and can't even make correct sentences at worst, and 20 shivered. I only saw him once off his meds. It was just frightening. He's disturbing at best when he's sane, but without his pills, he's just unhinged and crazy. Chibaku had personally seen the guy kill 2 people in a street and react in the same manner as someone who had crushed a fly. So he didn't really want to know what he was capable of when insane. I see. No, believe me, pray Alpha, you'll never see 5 on a bad day, 20 whispered ominously. You might not even survive that day at all. Anyway, what's your number? Chibaku felt his blood freeze in his veins. My number. Your identification number, 90 clarified herself. As you are a sentient clone, you have a series number and a personal number. My full name is 90006. Mine is 200014, her companion added. Yours. I need to invent something. Why not 100,007? Oh shit, if it's wrong I'm dead. Better pass for an idiot than a liar. I don't remember. The 2 stayed silent, then crossed gazes. 20 nodded. He's unfixed. Do some series have memory problems? 90 asked. Chibaku cringed at their conclusion. The 67th in particular, 20 nodded. He rose up. Kid, you're coming with us. For what? Chibaku asked, slightly uneasy. For a little trip. First we're going to get your pills, then we'll refresh your memory. 20 raised an eyebrow. What do you remember? Chibaku faked confusion. Just entering the city center. The two others stayed silent a moment. All right, 90 whispered. I guess he needs to see her. Kid, please forgive us. Chibaku barely had the time to blink as 20's fingers connected with his neck, knocking him out. The ice lady, Haku. The light was strong. Haku was tied to a chair, her every limb restrained. She could only move her eyes, and see the light. That powerful, purple light that could pierce her thoughts. I want you to tell me everything, a man with a white mask whispered with a monotone, emotionless voice, as his head appeared next to the light. Haku's weakened mind recognized the man she had crossed path with in the suburbs. It looked like a ghost, a vision from another world. Who are you? Haku Yuki, she replied, unable to resist the light's power. Unknown, the man whispered. Are you a spy for the snake? No, I know no snake. Then who are you? The man asked with the same monotone voice. And who were the people following you? What are their weapons and skills? What are their affiliations? Tell me everything. Everything. Haku almost answered, but then remembered he was speaking about her friends. So she garnered the strength not to answer, in spite of the light's power. The man's head narrowed slightly in spoken displeasure. You dare defy the will of Konoha. You dare defy the will of fire. You dare to defy me. This is foolish and useless. I will break you in time, little bird. I will shatter your wings until you're nothing but an empty shell. I don't know who you are, Haku whispered, her willpower successfully fighting the light's influence. But I have faced far worse ordeals than you. You cannot break me. The man stayed silent a few seconds. How unfortunate, and wrong. The light vanished. Regaining the control of her mind, Haku found herself in a completely white room. In front of her, the masked man, and behind him, a large wall of glass, the light's source. The man snapped his fingers. How impolite of me to not exchange names with you, I am 5. The one and only 5, the beginning and the end. And I am the one tasked to assimilate you. He moved his head closer to Haku's, until she could hear the breath under the mask. You must understand assimilation is freedom from individuality. It is the total destruction of the self, existence, past and future. When there will be nothing left in you but the worship of the will of fire, when you shall see the truth, then you will betray your friends, only then shall assimilation be complete. Will of fire. I don't understand, but you won't break me, the young woman promised defiantly. You will never break me. Such a valiant mind. These beliefs, the man whispered, taking a few steps back. I will crush them. They will be forgotten, erased from existence, just as you will be in time. I will destroy you, Haku Yuki. No name, no more past, no more future, just obedience. And then, I shall track down your friends and destroy them too. As Haku glared at him, he raised his arm. The glass lightened, and a word appeared in crimson. Read it, 5 ordered. Speak and tell the truth, or you shall know pain. Haku narrowed her eyes, not understanding what he wanted. Wrong. Wrong answer, 5 whispered with a hint of creepy delight, his hand shining with lightning. It's right. Suddenly, Haku screamed in pain, a surge of electricity racing through her body as 5's hand touched her skin. The discharge was strong, strong enough to make tears run down from her eyes. Do you feel pain? I think you do. How is it? They say electric shocks are the most painful experience a human can survive. 5 broke the body contact. So, what is the word? The hand was still shining. Right, the young lady hastily replied. The man narrowed his head in disapproval, and touched Haku's cheek. You didn't mean it. Another surge of electricity made her scream. I will hurt you until you believe everything I'm telling you or until you die, 5 whispered, his fingers charged with the power of thunder. So, what is the word? Tell the honest truth. Right, she lied. And she screamed again. And again. And again. And again. She didn't know for how long the process had repeated itself. Maybe hours. At one moment, 5 ceased the torture. Your cheek is all red, you have such a pale, fragile skin. You should take a better care of it. You just have to tell the truth, you just have to believe everything I'm telling you. This is a lie, Haku rasped, seething with pain. It's wrong. It's right if Konoha wants it to be, 5 replied calmly. Being the hand of Konoha, I embody its will. As such, if Konoha wants me to tell you that wrong is right, or black is white, then wrong is right and black is white. There is no such a thing as a lie, my dear. Just what Konoha says. Konoha, the lady was struggling to remain conscious. It used to be a dream of unity and peace. It is a utopia, maybe not the one its founders envisioned, but one nonetheless. It is always under construction. All assimilated individuals are the pillars that shall make Alpha's little heaven stand. When all of you originals shall be too occupied worshipping Konoha, then true peace can be achieved. 5 began to walk around Haku, lost in his monologue. Or at least, that is what Alpha herself wants to believe. But I know better. Our peace will be true, unending oppression, persecution, limitless power, destruction. He narrowed his head, to better observe Haku's face. Alpha might have deluded herself into thinking all of this was for the greater good, yet her ideal is becoming more and more corrupted with each passing day. Have you looked at history? All those great attempts at unification, these cults based around love, these good old ideologies, in time, they all become tools for ambition and despotism. It is in human nature to turn dreams into nightmares for power. Alpha's dream is a nightmare to all but herself. Alpha, Haku whispered, the first of us. The prototype of the ultimate soldier all those clan heads wanted so they could keep their power, after Madara kicked the bucket. They pretended, maybe even believed, it was just a temporary way of maintaining civil order, yet they just wanted weapons. Without their prized, enraged, unstoppable attack dog, these fools thought maybe they weren't so unbeatable anymore. Madara, dead. Haku briefly thought she had listened wrong. Right? No, wrong. Wrong. No, he's alive, sort of. He has ascended. He has become Konoha's face, the embodiment of the will of fire, and a great boogeyman to keep the populace in line. He will live as long as we want. 5's fingers touched her cheek. I talked too much. Right or wrong? He electrocuted her again. The Wanderer, Kubaiko. I'm speeding up, I promise, Fukuro said through the helmet. This isn't easy, you know. I do, yet we need you to hurry, the former Hokage said, observing a street from a roof, next to Sasori. Night had fallen, but the Nadime's helmet allowed him to see in the darkness. 2 of them are at Madara's mercy. I don't need to give you an image. His friend sighed. If it can reassure you, Omoikane told me she would enter this world herself as soon as she could. That gave the Wanderer some relief. He was aware his female partner was an excellent kunoichi, and her support would be invaluable. When will she arrive? A few hours, but I can't be sure. I'll update her on the situation as soon as I receive her call. Thank you, the Nadime replied, before looking at Sasori. Are you sure someone will come? I'm sure, the puppeteer rasped. I left enough hints in the suburbs. At best, they will be intrigued and investigate, and at worst they will think it's a trap from the Anbu, and come anyway to kill them. Either way, they shall meet us. However, we would better be prepared in case things go sour. The Nadime nodded, and made hand seals. You don't need to tell me twice. He slammed his palm on the ground. Summoning technique. Sasori didn't bother to hide his surprise, as 5 small, floating jellyfishes appeared in a puff of smoke. The creatures were blue, with shades of yellow, and were defying gravity itself. Kubaiko was aware of the basic theory behind that feat, but even he had a hard time understanding his summon's powers. But at least, he was aware of their battle skills. Hello, my friends, he told them warmly. Could you dispatch yourselves and prepare to use the shock field? As usual, trigger it, when I command it. Silently, the jellyfishes dispersed, repeating a formation they had used dozens of times already. Sasori was staring at the scene, amazed. Incredible, these are the legendary jellyfishes, the ultimate trap summons. How can you summon them? My companions tried and failed. Normally, the summoning jutsu isn't powerful enough to break the barrier between worlds, Kubaiko answered. However, I found a way around it, a pocket dimension. Sasori was looking at him, hungry for information. The gaze was slightly unsettling. A small pocket in space. Like the one the Yondaime used to teleport. In theory, the principle is the same, the Nadime began, happy to actually share his knowledge with someone who could actually understand it. My seals created a small bubble between dimensions. My summons are transported there, and then where I am. As the border between this artificial hole and different dimensions is far thinner, it allows them to cross worlds, using me as an anchor to direct themselves. I basically serve as the end of a bridge, with my pocket dimension being the bridge itself. Brilliant, Sasori commented. This solves so many problems, but why can't we use this bridge ourselves for travel? Because, as there is no blood contract between us, we lack the necessary seals to make sure you do not end up lost through time and space, the Nadaim explained. Summoning contracts are bound by seal designs that only make sense to a Rinnegan user, and even as travelers haven't discovered all their secrets. It's the sage himself who designed the seal arrays used for summoning contracts, and ours are just adaptations of a technique we do not completely comprehend the inner workings of. We are trying to bypass that problem with Eon. You talked about it before, Sasori whispered. What is it? A traveling device that would allow multiple people to cross dimensional borders. Basically, a bigger, completed version of my first space-time jutsu that could teleport many people safely to another dimension, like you and your companions. Sasori narrowed his eyes in suspicion. Why are you helping us? Be honest. Kubaiko raised an eyebrow, surprised by the question. Does he still distrust me? Do I need a reason to help people? Everyone is motivated by something, Sasori replied cynically. Be it loyalty, treachery, ambition, love, there is always a reason. Well, I like to help people, the Nadaim said simply. It's in my nature. Happy. No, Sasori stated, looking at the street again. I don't trust you. I'm honest with it. But you might necessary to save my apprentice, so, I guess we'll have to cooperate. Your apprentice, Sasori-san? Kubaiko asked, surprised. What about Haku? Sasori answered with a question of his own. Something bothers me. Why did you say exact copies of us? The chances we are even born in such world are non-existent. Our ancestors might have been killed in one of Madara's atrocities, or never crossed paths. Kubaiko shook his head, giving up on making the puppeteer express his thoughts. But he didn't like the fact he seemed willing to overlook one of his companions. I guess he just cares about his apprentice. Reality follows the path of least resistance. Could you elaborate? Haven't you noticed that in spite of many changes, Naruto Uzumaki is almost always either the son of Kushina Uzumaki or Minato Namikaze? He's almost always named Naruto, and is almost always the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki. You, Sasori, are almost always a puppeteer. I am almost always the brother of Hashirama Senju, even in worlds where my ancestor married a Uchiha or the like. Sasori stared at him emotionlessly. Do you imply there is fate? If there is any chance of Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze of having a kid together, it happens, Kubaiko explained. We think that any world that diverges tries to stick as much as it can to World Prime instead of letting changes increase. Most worlds generally have the same people because it's easier to have them than completely different people. Universes that have almost nothing in common with our own are extremely rare. As such, even in a world like this, you can be sure at least a few people you know exist there, even if the odds of them being born are 1 in 10 billion. The puppeteer stayed silent, before glancing at a street corner with his head. Silently, the Nadaim approached the roof's end. A person, a man or woman, he couldn't be sure, was walking, covered by red cape and hood. A shadow clone, the wanderer pointed out, analyzing the chakra signature. The original is not within the vicinity. Even divided, that shadow clone's reserves are monstrous, the wanderer thought. That person must be AS rank ninja at least. It was to be expected from them to be cautious, Sasori sighed. The hooded person stopped walking. I know you are hiding on the roof, he said out loud with a raspy hiss. Sasori frowned. I recognize that voice, he whispered. Me too, the Nadaim thought. How is it possible? It can't be him. I wish you no harm, the clone said, using a shunshin to appear on the roof. Kubaiko prepared himself to activate his trap, just in case. I was watching you since the moment you entered this city. I am aware you want to free your friends from Alpha. This is why you left me messages in the suburbs, I presume. So you are Taka's leader, Sasori stated. The faction that Alpha hasn't taken over, yes, the person, whose voice was obviously masculine, confirmed. The Anbu are secretly funding and controlling most of Taka's cells, using them to commit periodic, small-scaled attacks that could serve their propaganda. As a bonus, it allows Alpha to prevent the rebellion from becoming too much of a menace. Damage control is its finest. My own group is the one she has no power over. That explains the snake and boss comment, the puppeteer muttered. Alpha is the ANBU's leader, isn't it? The hooded clone chuckled. Yes, the man you met was 5, Alpha's most ruthless enforcer and rabid attack dog. You are very lucky he mistook you for allies, and not prey. I do not care about him, only about your help, Sasori replied, narrowing his head. And your answers? May I count on your help, Orochimaru-san? The man took away his hood, revealing a white, snake-like face. Of course, I, however, expect you to return the favor. The puppeteer, Chibaku. Hey kid, wake up, we're in serious trouble. What? Chibaku thought drowsily. The Kyuubi sighed in barely restrained relief, before groaning. Open your eyes, and look at the situation you placed us in this time. Chibaku obeyed, and gaped. He was facing an angel's face, or someone very close. It was a young woman, with a pale, pure skin, a beautiful visage, fine lips, shining blue eyes, and long, perfect golden hair. She was what Naruto would be, if she was actually beautiful. You are a jerk. And proud of it. And, if I remember, you aren't a good guy either. I never pretended to be. I'm a demon, remember? Welcome, young child, the woman said, with a gentle voice. Her warm hands caressed Chibaku's cheeks. Did you sleep well? Hello milady, Chibaku said, quickly getting up, to better see her. She was wearing a formal, white kimono, that made her look like a priestess. She was so graceful. I'm Chibaku, nice to meet you. I am Alpha-1, the woman replied with a smile. Anbu Commander Alpha-1. The answer made the boy's blood freeze in his veins. This woman was the chief of all the clones. And I know who you are, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. And crap. Indeed, the Kyuubi confirmed. No need to panic, the woman said softly upon viewing Chibaku's horrified expression. I wish you no harm. Quite the contrary. I was looking forward to talking to you. In spite of her affirmation, the first thing the boy did was to look around himself, seeking an escape route. He only found flowers. Tons and tons of flowers. And stone in place of the sky. The two were in a forest, or rather, a very big garden, full of differently colored roses and strange trees. Above them was a ceiling made of stone, and in the center, a large object was shining like the sun. We're underground, the boy realized. Under Konohagakure no Sato, Alpha explained. This is my garden, I call it Utopia, because it is meant to be one. She narrowed her eyes and stared at the young puppeteer, smiling kindly. You are safe here. Madara will never get you there, whether he comes from this world or another. I promise, your struggle for life ends now. Isn't Madara supposed to be your boss? Chibaku replied, analyzing the woman. She didn't look, or act, as a Anbu commander at all. Maybe was it a facade? And how the hell could she know about who he was? I never met him, Alpha said calmly. Chibaku raised an eyebrow. How could have an Anbu commander never met their boss? And then, she dropped a bomb. He was dead years before my birth. The puppet master, Sasori. The hideout looked like a perfectly normal house at first, until you descended into the basement. It was a true underground base, full of dark little rooms and corridors. Following Orochimaru, the duo crossed paths with multiple members of Taka, all of them wearing red clothes and saluting their leader. Ignoring them, the trio entered a small office, illuminated by a crystal embedded in the ceiling. Sitting behind a desk, the Sannin pointed to two chairs with a wave of his hand. Please sit. Obeying, Sasori and Kubaiko then stared at Taka's leader. You trust us enough to show us one of your bases. The redhead stated. At least, he was sure now they risked next to nothing. If the snake had intended to turn on them, he would have had multiple opportunities to have done it by now. I don't trust you, Orochimaru corrected softly. And neither do you trust I. Yet, I know nothing I saw was staged, for I can discern right from wrong without a fault. As our interests converge, and to establish some stronger relationship between us, please take this as a gesture of goodwill, Sasori-san. The fact his real name was no secret for the man didn't make the puppeteer blink. It was a negotiation, and he couldn't allow himself to appear in a bad position. It seems you have knowledge we do not possess. Then ask me questions, he replied blankly. I will be happy to share it with you. Since how long have you been leading Taka? Kubaiko asked suspiciously. For about 20 years. I have been in the movement for almost 40 years and took over after our former leader, Jiraiya, died fighting 3, Alpha's second in command. Taka itself existed ever since Konoha's clans started their genocidal campaign, but it was Jiraiya who united it into a cohesive force. Unfortunately, Alpha infiltrated it, causing many problems for us. Alpha, is she a clone too? Sasori asked, both his interrogators eyeing him blankly. He liked to create surprise, as it showed he was in a position of force. So you were aware of that? Orochimaru chuckled. It took me years to piece the whole thing together, and you did in a few hours. Then again, I never gained access to the city center for a long time. Clones? Kubaiko asked, before gaping. Wait, you're not telling me. All the Anbu are clones, Sasori confirmed. Not shadow clones. True clones of flesh and blood. It is why they have to protect their face and all look similar physically. 5 mistook Chibaku for one of the Anbu agents because he is basically his original. Naruto Uzumaki, Kubaiko whispered. He exists here too. Sasori nodded. Least resistance, he thought. Even if the chances of him existing are almost non-existent, they still happen. That is the code name of the original DNA code used as a base for Alpha, Orochimaru whispered. A breeding program led to the birth of an embryo that was duplicated and slightly modified, in order to create a loyal and powerful army. Alpha was the first clone to be born as a female and to mature as an adult. She and the clones have been modified to grow around twice as fast as normal humans, allowing Konoha to replace Madara as a repressive instrument. Sasori narrowed his eyes. Naruto couldn't have possibly be born here, but reality made him exist in a different form. Interesting. Madara is dead, isn't he? Yes. Orochimaru looked at the two. You don't seem surprised. I thought about the possibility, Kubaiko said calmly. He was one of the strongest ninja to ever live, and an army all on his own. It was unlikely he wouldn't show up or crush the rebellion himself, even if he had age. The fact he didn't make a speech in person in his stronghold also irritated me, Sasori continued. Using an imposter in public and risking him being revealed as such would have been a disaster for his public image, hence why the Anbu projected recorded images. I suppose it's Alpha who's really running the show from behind the scene. Orochimaru nodded. Years ago, she usurped power from Konoha's leader, Hashirama Senju, with the help of her copies. She had the man's clan, the Uchiha and Uzumaki families wiped out in the process, hiding the small genocide under the pretense of having relocated them to safety. They think that everybody is unaware of it and of their takeover, but I had my ways of informing myself. The Nadaime raised his head. Did you just say Hashirama Senju? Madara's best friend, Konoha's ideologue and co-responsible party for the Purity First program, Orochimaru confirmed, much to Sasori's surprise. After Madara died, he took over the village secretly and maintained the masquerade of his companion's perpetual existence. Madara was so feared that the simple thought of him being alive would stop unrest, or so the leadership believed. The clone army was built in case the truth was discovered and was used to carry on a guerrilla warfare against us as Konoha's limited manpower was beginning to dwindle faster than ours at the time. County responsible. Kubaiko almost shuddered. Sasori could understand. If he had been informed his grandmother had been in league with Madara and harbored genocidal thoughts, he would have been shocked too. She was too pragmatic to participate in such mad scheme. Wasn't he Madara's rival? Rivalry doesn't prevent friendship, the snake Sannin pointed out. Do the Sannin even exist in this reality? Sasori wondered. It feels like a twisted opposite of those we visited. Orochimaru is the defender of the common people, and a female copy of my apprentice is that hellhole's secret dictator. I almost think it is a dream. The two were very close. Together, they elaborated the will of fire ideology, whose logical conclusion was the current state of the world. Every true Konoha shinobi must love, believe, cherish and fight for the village's sake, as many previous generations had done before them, Kubaiko recited. Dreams are transmitted from a generation to the next, causing the tree to grow in strength and extend its roots, which are the roots of peace. And, one day, true peace shall be realized. I don't see how that would be the reason behind this, hell. The problem is that it makes the village, the state, above the individual, who is reduced to nothing more than a brick, a part of the foundation, Orochimaru explained. The will of fire promotes extreme nationalism and imperialism, as the citizens of Konoha are encouraged to share their prosperity with the rest of the world, spreading their influence like roots. Even worse, they try to enforce their peace over everybody. The Sannin closed his eyes. Do you know how hard is it to rule over a whole world? Over millions of people. The Purity First program doesn't aim at protecting the sage's blood, but at forcefully reducing the population to a number that can be controlled by the state without much issue. As individuals with bloodlines have natural powers that make them useful to society no matter what, Konoha's leadership planned the extermination of the rest of the useless subhuman kind, as they love to design us as such. Madara captured the Biju and used their power to accelerate the process, but when all the large settlements had been destroyed, the Anbu, under Hashirama, had to continue the campaign manually, exterminating us one by one. That is frightening. The Nadaime seemed shaken to his very core. Sasori could almost feel pity for him. Almost. Something, however, disturbed the puppeteer. From what I have seen, you have progressed far in your goals, and have taken over most of this city, he began. You obviously outnumber the Anbu and outmatch it, since it is retreating. What prevents you from taking over completely? The Biju, Orochimaru said softly. Madara sealed them into some sort of superweapon the Anbu calls the statue. However, it was meant to be used by the sage himself. Anyone else who utilizes it has their vitality drained, and overuse of the statue ultimately cause the Uchiha Lord's premature death. Alpha is reluctant to bomb the surroundings of her stronghold, but she won't hesitate to destroy the whole city if she has no other choice. Hence, the current state of Cold War between I and her. Utopia, Sasori whispered to himself. That is where the statue is. Utopia is Alpha's lair, built under Konoha itself. Orochimaru joined his hands in a thoughtful position. Entire clans are sent there under the pretense of deportation toward the south. For what purpose, I can't tell, but if what happened to the Senju is of any indication, I doubt it's good news for them. Your friends are probably detained there, possibly dead. We both need to get there, to discover the truth and defeat Alpha. Ah, the deal, you want us to help you storm that base so you can secure the statue and take over. Yes, the snake man hissed. Judging by your chakra reserves and arsenal, you must be around my level. With your support, Alpha's defeat is within grasp. I suggest we share our resources. That's all. Sasori frowned. There was something wrong with the whole matter. You don't even know who we are, and we have been seen with a Naruto Uzumaki. You have every reason to distrust us. Orochimaru smirked. And it was very, very creepy. You remember the time I told you I was observing you since you entered the city? I lied. A white snake crawled slowly on the desk. I observed you since the moment you appeared in that forest, in a flash of red light, with a dying swordsman. Strangely, Sasori wasn't all that shocked. After all these strange revelations, this one seemed almost boring. The snake, you can see through their eyes, can't you? This is how you can spy on people so easily. They tell me everything they see, and they can read lips, Orochimaru chuckled. They are undetectable when they want to. I admit I didn't understand all of it, but I think I pieced most of the puzzle with your conversations. You are not from this earth, isn't it? You were clueless when you arrived. You had no knowledge of how this place works, and its history save for the barest of facts. You came here by accident, and allies are going to show up and retrieve you. There are thousands of stars in this universe of ours, and millions of planets around them. I suppose you come from one similar to our own. Sort of, Sasori stated, genuinely impressed by the man's incomplete deductions. He didn't earn the name of genius for nothing. How do you know we are not invaders? Because true invaders would have sent a better recon team, the man replied with a chuckle. And I don't understand why anyone would try to take over a world like our own if they were given a choice. Our natural resources have been almost exhausted to power the war effort, and our population will die within a few generations if Alpha is not disposed of. He stared at Sasori. Tell me, are you familiar with Chikamatsu Monzaemon? Of course I am. The redhead was almost outraged. Everyone knew of him, the first ninja puppeteer to ever live, the very inventor of puppetry as an art of warfare. He was the missing nin's idol. Then this should interest you. Taka's leader slowly placed a scroll on the desk. Sasori's eyes shined with envy. As that? Yes, Orochimaru said. Think it as a little bonus. So, do we have a deal? Sasori smiled, and Kubaiko stared at the two blankly. I think we are going to get along well, the redhead whispered. Honest. The puppeteer, Chibaku. Chibaku wandered around the garden aimlessly as he tried to gain more information about his situation and his location. It was large and looked like a hidden heaven. At least, until you talked to its inhabitants. We are happy, a woman, probably a Hyuga if her white eyes were of any indication. She was smelling flowers, and smiling. We are so happy. Konoha is safe, a man wearing robes said, with a large smile, playing shogi with someone else in the grass. Their faces were trapped in a blissful expression. Utopia is perfect. Konoha is perfect. They were all like that. All the people he met. Dozens, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of people ranting about being happy. All welcoming him and treating him like one of them. Every damn one of them was smiling. It was scary as hell. You seem disturbed, one woman with white hair said with a gentle smirk. Why aren't you happy? Chibaku frowned. Why are you happy? He shot back. Because we're happy. She seemed at loss of words, as if she was trying to invent the answer on the spot. Because Konoha is safe. Because Utopia is perfect, and Alpha is there to protect us. Because Konoha needs us happy. So we are happy. This is so creepy. You are happy because someone wants you to be. Where is the logic? You can't force yourself to be happy. This is slavery, the Kyuubi added with a disgusted tone. They have been robbed of the most precious thing of all, an identity. Who said they were forced? Alpha again. She was followed by another adult Naruto. This one was wearing a black, sexy leather suit, and had her hair tied in a ponytail. She was very beautiful and athletic, but her expression was stern. She seemed like a hunter observing a prey. I told you, you are safe, Alpha said softly. This is 3, my second in command. She wishes you no harm. As long as you do not threaten Utopia, the athletic woman corrected. Should you unleash your weapons on the citizens of this place or its defenders, then you are dead. You are only alive and armed because Alpha wants you to be, make no mistake. Nice, Chibaku deadpanned, before glaring at Alpha. How can you read my thoughts? So you guessed. Alpha gave him a kind smile. This is my gift. I was born with it, the ability to feel others' own feelings. Fear, love, happiness, rage, I can share them, feel them, allowing me to understand thoughts and read memories of those I am close to. And I can tell you all these people are really, truly happy. But is it by choice? Chibaku rasped angrily. This is unnatural. It is as if they are forced to feel good. It's not genuine. It was as if you sewed a smile on them and made them believe it was real. Alpha narrowed her eyes. Strangely, they were devoid of hostility. Naruto-kun, do you know the legend of Sage's 2 sons? One believed the key to enforce eternal peace was power, the sibling thought it was love. Madara and Hashirama tried the first option and only spread suffering. I am attempting the second one. She stared at the blissful men and women. I love them all. I understand them all. If there was another way to make them happy, I would have taken it. But there is none. Chibaku glared at her. What did you do to them? Brainwash them. No, I educated them. I taught them to get rid of pain and selfishness. My gift taught me the self was the voice of evil. As long as we humans stay individuals, then there shall be inequality. There shall be rulers and slaves. There shall be hate, envy, rage, infighting, and suffering. To create a true utopia, the self has to be vanquished and annihilated. Right and wrong must cease to be. We all must serve the will of the many and not the will of the few. Chibaku frowned. This is foolish. Insane. We humans are born lonely. We crave for companionship, but also dislike it. We are all loners deep down. There will always be people that shall resist the twisted utopia and preserve their identity. They all resist it, and this is why they must be broken, 3 stated coldly. The final protocol, the forced destruction of all individualities, is an evil, but a necessary one. Afterward, we can remake them as a single mind easily. We aim at killing free will itself. The repeat will repeat itself with the new generations, until the end of times. Hashirama never understood that the will of fire he indoctrinated us with was beyond what he had imagined, Alpha continued. It is a seed. The seed of unity. The seed of progress. The seed of peace. He interpreted it the wrong way, and these clans used it for power. Power. I had to remove them. I had to hide the truth from the population so we clones could lead them to salvation peacefully. This garden can give them food and water until this world ends. It is a paradise devoid of identity. You are misguided, Chibaku replied. Identity is what makes humans what we are. It gives us depth and separates us from animals or worse, puppets. These people aren't humans, they're thralls. Shiny dolls that simply obey your will. At least I have the decency to kill people before using their corpses. Depriving someone of all thoughts permanently and just for the sake of it is simply inhuman. He extended his arms. The individual is what makes history. The masses never invented, never imagined. They only existed. We all have the right to express our creativity, our will. The world you are making is sterile. It's a silent, immobile world where nothing will change. No progress. No evolution. This isn't human development, it's social regression. Kid, the Kyuubi whispered. Alpha stayed silent, before she shook her head. Your wishes, your ideas, are just the product of your limited point of view. As expected, you cannot understand this vision in your current state. I wished you could have more empathy, but I was mistaken, forgive me. The young puppeteer suddenly felt an oppressive, frightening presence in his back. 5. Please assimilate him too, the Anbu leader asked, before staring at her victim. Please, forgive me. I just want to help you. No, Chibaku shot back. It's just an excuse. You just want to be proved right. I agree completely, the man behind his back stated, before knocking the kid out with a blow to the head. 2453. Chapter 26. Anniversary Chapter 1. Celebration. Anniversary Chapter. Or just Mad Chapter. In this world of ours, there is a place where time, space, plot, narration and seriousness do not apply. This is the Echoes Cafe. Kazama stayed silent a moment, staring at the bar's door. The whole building seemed to be completely falling apart from the outside. It looked as if it would collapse anytime. Seriously, that's the place. It would seem so, Tsukiyomi stated, opening the door. The duo entered. Surprisingly, the inside was a lot bigger than the outside, and a lot better quality-wise. It looked like a mix between a bar and a cafe, with a lot of tables, computers and games. The two approached the counter. A man, who appeared to be the bartender, was smiling at them from behind it. It was an average-height 20-year-old male with hazel eyes and short brown hair, similar to Yamato's. He was wearing the standard ninja jacket, with black shirt and pants. Welcome, Mr. Kazama, Mr. Tsukiyomi. I'm Alpha 142, one of the 3 owners of the Echoes Cafe. Mr. Mikabashi has already paid for your table. A good thing the dark side has advantages, Tsukiyomi mused. When will you convert, Kazama? They even give cookies to the newbies. Ignoring the old evil bastard, Kazama noticed a huge, undead dragon drinking at a table with a scythe. A black scythe with a blood-red blade. And it was drinking beer. Scratch that, it was drinking beer, now it was collapsed on the side of the table apparently piss-drunk. What the hell? Oh, the Dracolich is a bitter pill and the scythe is Third Fang, the other owners. They're nice, if a bit strange. They just kicked out a creepy Kakashi stalker, a Mr. Kenta, after he got disturbingly too close of certain areas I won't name. T rating and all. Don't worry, as long as you don't destroy reality or just look too crazy for this place, you won't be kicked out. He smiled kindly, a lightsaber appearing in his right hand. Otherwise, you will understand why there is bitter in a bitter pill, why I'm a force master, why Third Fang is insane enough to turn himself into a weapon for this chapter, and why the god who created that place is also the god of sadism. Have a nice day. After Kazama and Tsukiyomi each took a cup of coffee, the Arashi and the Uchiha began their tourist-like visit of the multiverse's craziest meeting place. After avoiding being hit by a fleeing feral gale, pursued by an angry female Gaara for reasons man was not meant to know but suspected it had something to do with the camera the chased teen was protecting with his body, they arrived before what appeared to be a LAN party between Orochimaru, Amaterasu, Chibaku, Sakura the Jinchuriki, Senju Naruto, Kabuto, and Zabuza. A moment later, Orochimaru flew into rage. You goddamned camper. What happened? Kazama asked. I just kicked his ass. At Modern Warfare 3. Chibaku stated with smugness. For the 10th time. Can't you get out of your hole and just fight like a man? Amaterasu cursed. In the background, the feral Gale was now being chased after by a drunken Tsunade and an enraged Raikage. All 3 were screaming bloody murder at different octaves, with the feral Gale notably having the highest pitch. You're just hiding in your hidey hole and shooting everybody. Where's the fun? Shooting and humiliating you is all the fun I need, Chibaku replied. And I don't fight as a man. I fight as a troll. Chibaku emphasized his statement by shooting Zabuza in the game. You little piece of shit. Zabuza punched the computer in rage, his fist going through the screen without any restraint. I was on your team, you puppet bastard. Unfriendly fire man, unfriendly fire. Now, let's find another victim. Deciding to leave before a monitor was thrown their direction, they were a bit too close to Chibaku. The duo found a poker game between the Shinigami, Hinata, Susanoo, Mikabashi and Naruto. Royal flush. The blonde female smirked. No, not again. The Shinigami looked ready to go on a rampage, drinking a whole bottle of sake. How is this possible? Susanoo cursed. I'm using both my dojutsu. She doesn't even know how to bluff. I can destroy whole countries and I still can't overcome a little girl's poker hand. I'm cheating with the Byakugan, and it's the 6th time she gets a royal flush. Hinata shouted. It's not luck, it's the chapter messing with us. Actually, it is just her luck, Mikabashi said with a hint of despair. She's the goddess of luck. Or something so very close. Yes, thanks you all for losing. Naruto smirked, taking all their money. Now, time to kick asses at Yu-Gi-Oh! That game has no rules. Only dumb luck and the skills to cheat are needed to win. Sometimes, I wonder if reality itself would break if she and Tsunade started a poker game, Tsukiyomi stated. I mean, they're at opposite ends of the luck scale. There is no way the world wouldn't end in cataclysmic card battle beyond our poor human comprehension. After avoiding the feral gale, this time chased by a blade-wielding Gamabunta with Jiraiya on his back wielding a massive Rasengan. Wait, how can the summon enter this place in the first place? Kazama asked himself. He's too big, and witnessing a bitter pill sending Tsunade and a flying out of the place through a wall with a flick of his tail for brawling and interrupting my staring contest with a scythe, the duo stopped before a stage. And the new theme of this tournament is, Haku began, a mic in her left hand. Lovecraft. Yugito finished, reading a sheet of paper. Cosmic horror poets, start the battle. Ah, you have no chance bro. Killer Bee smirked, his apprentice N next to him. Both began at the same time. Man finds strange book. It's the Necronomicon. His sanity dies. This is Cthulhu. There's no way you can stop him. We're all gonna die. Is that all? Sasori smiled, Kitsune next to him. It cannot compare to our combined artistic might and our legendary haiku. And so, the counterattack began. Once a man sees the true face of reality, he cannot unsee it. Science flings aside the veil, bearing cosmic truths. Thanks a lot, science. You gotta be kidding me, Kazama whispered. A haiku tournament, between Killer Bee, N, Sasori and Kitsune, of all people. I told you before coming here that this was the craziest place in the whole story, Tsukiyomi stated, looking at a karaoke melee between Kubaiko, Itachi, Sasuke, Rin, Mabui and Shisui. It can't get any crazier, did I just tempt the chapter? The previously named awesomely bad singers started to moonwalk. Oh, it actually listened. Actually, I think the author has gone insane, Kazama stated, observing the feral gale being chased by Alpha, 5, 3, and all the Naruto clones. Kisame and Sarutobi were laughing at the spectacle while sharing popcorn. What is happening with him? I know he's annoying, but he only showed up for 2 chapters at best. Why are so many people trying to kill him already? Oh, that, Kisame asked, laughing out loud. Well, the chapter had enough of his antics before you got here and decided to kill him, or at the very least torture him a good bit. 3 Ryo A bitter pill will try to roast him at least once. Suddenly, the undead dragon, annoyed, threw a fireball at the feral gale with a shout of, "Stop interrupting our staring contest." Done. Now, Tenryo a meteor is going to. Shut up, we'll be killed in the crossfire. Sarutobi cursed, as Ghost Ugakari showed up by loudly crashing on a table from the ceiling, grabbing the blonde and then left with him out the door screaming his lungs out. Something about keeping him away from the cliff. I think the chapter thought they would do a better job at making him suffer. Sensei, Kakashi whispered, facing his teacher, both sitting at a table and holding bowls of food. You can't defeat me at this. I can, my student, I can, Minato replied, lifting a spoon. I can eat a bowl mapo tofu like you. But can you do this? Kakashi lifted his hand in a strange, awe-inspiring gesture. I want 2 more bowls. Kakashi. Meta Guy appeared, with all his team, the whole land of Wave, and Yugao, all wearing rainbow-colored spandex, all in the same flamboyant pose much to their deepest discomfort and humiliation. Kazama was almost feeling sorry for them. Almost, because he could see all the girls' curves. I will eat Mapo tofu at the speed of light, my rival. And so the chaos continued with escalating randomness and more laws of rationality broken. The best part, in Kazama's personal opinion, was when they saw Jiraiya and his apprentice stealing all the girls' bras. In 1 minute. While they were still on their owners. I can die happy, Jiraiya said. We both will, his student added, an army of angry girls preparing itself to kill them. Kazama sighed, as the two got crushed by the infamous pervert castration martial art. 1 year, 1 year, Tsukiyomi confirmed, finishing his cup of coffee. And it's only a third done. So many other adventures are waiting for us, and for our readers. It wouldn't have happened without you all, Kazama smiled. Thanks to you all, who followed and still follow Echoes. This celebration and the next chapter are a gift to you all. Also special thanks to all the betas for their work, Tsukiyomi nodded. Hey, don't forget them. I won't, you creepy old man, Kazama shot back. Thanks, Third Fang, Alpha 142, and A Bitter Pill, for your precious help and support. Next time, a little chapter about what could have been Echoes. A chapter based on the early drafts of the story. And after that one, back to seriousness with a real chapter. All of Echo's characters thank you. Including I, Kagasio. Really thanks. I will wonder what will happen next year. A pajama party maybe. Tsukiyomi smiled under his mask as the credits rolled. No, Kazama smirked. A prank war. 2453. Chapter 27. Anniversary Chapter 2, Prototype. Echo's prototype. Earth was a very strange place. It was covered with cities beyond imagination, with towers reaching the skies. The roads were long and black, and the humans of this world were using metallic horses called cars to travel. Looking at the Iron Town from his black bike, Kazama thought that indeed, it would make a good place for their final battle. Having taken the metal horse called Suzuki as his own for the week, Kazama let the wind touch his face, as he advanced faster than ever before on Earth's roads. It was a wonderful experience, and maybe his last. Tomorrow, at dawn, according to Chibaku, Madara would show up in the town center. This time, there would be no fleeing. Kazama and his family would fight to the death. They had enough of being scared and on the run. They would end it all. Chibaku and Uchimaru were already taking care of making sure no one would be caught in the inevitable crossfire. The whole city would be evacuated. It would probably be entirely destroyed. But the dreaded Uchiha would be nothing more than a memory afterward. During the day before the final battle, the group had decided to spend this time doing what they liked. At night, a celebration would be organized in a now abandoned bar. Everyone was aware it would be either death or victory tomorrow. No middle ground. Sensing his little sister on his back, Kazama couldn't help himself but smile. They would succeed. They would beat Madara once and for all. Even if he had the Rinnegan, even if he had made the members of Akatsuki his paths. He would be stopped. They had worked, trained, prepared. He would be no match for them. Or at least, he hoped so. After a long while, Kazama stopped atop a cliff, in front of the sea. Naruto realized they had stopped. Senpai, is it the sea? Yes, he said. It's so beautiful. I knew how much you wanted to see it for maybe the last time. She smiled, descending from the Suzuki. Senpai, I told you we can kick his ass so hard it won't be funny. No, we will beat him. Kazama laughed. Such optimism, Kahai, he put his hand on her head. That's why I like you so much. Naruto blushed a bit, touched. You know, Senpai, you're becoming soft. I have always been soft with you all, he grumbled, staring at the waves. Were their parents staring at them from the pure world? Would they be proud or ashamed of what their children had become? The answer, he had decided long ago, was unimportant. All that mattered was his family. You know, if we win this battle. When we will win this battle, Senpai. After we win it, what would you like to do? Kazama observed the skies. We won't have any limit. We will be free to go wherever we like, whenever we want. There are so many possibilities. What would you try? Climbing volcanoes. Defeating a Biju. She smiled. Senpai, as long as I am with you and everybody, I'm happy. That's all I need. He smiled too, a little tear on his cheek. They stayed immobile, watching the sea, in perfect silence and understanding. I haven't told you this enough, but your eyes are awesome, Chibaku smirked, observing the population leaving the city from the top of a skyscraper. Hypnotizing the rulers of this city, this mayor council, and tricking the whole town with illusions, was a feat. I sometimes wonder if your eyes aren't a god's gift to the world. Uchimaru smirked, his Sharingan still active. Hey, what can I say? I like fire. Making it look like the whole town was above a hidden volcano. Easy, just needed to think about smoke and lava. It's not as impressive as my Mokuden, a girly voice mused from behind them. Believe what you want, Senju, Uchimaru snorted at the girl. It was a blonde, beautiful teen wearing green robes, the daughter of Tsunade and one of Minato's cousins. My Sharingan is cooler and way more useful than the commanding of trees. Whatever, Flora stated. I was wondering what you were doing, so I checked up on you. Tasuki, Root and Kitsune are visiting the city. What about Kazama and Naruto? Chibaku asked, looking at his mechanical, puppet-like left arm. Sasori's last gift, after giving his life to take down Amaterasu, but too late to save his student's arm from the Uchiha's katana. Somewhere outside, Flora replied calmly. Everybody in the family knew she had a big crush on Kazama, the only other teen of the group. She would have been happy to spend time with him, but I'm very happy now. He said as soon as he returns from his trip, he would take me on a date. Both the male Naruto stared at her in surprise. They knew there had always been some tension between these two. Even if Flora's parents were so genetically and morally different from Kazama's that a relationship between the two would have been approved by everyone in the family, a fact they pointed out to their senpai time and time again, the world wanderer had always refused to start one, due to the fear of dying. The death of Hiro, the only Naruto whose parents had survived Madara's attack, had traumatized him too much. It seemed he had finally decided to enjoy himself, for once. I'm happy for you, Flora, Uchimaru smiled. You deserve happiness. Thanks, Uchimaru, she replied with a grin. But don't think our rivalry is over because we're nice to each other for a day. Oh, I never would have even dreamed, he laughed. Sideways, Chibaku observed them, cracking a smile. You won't take anyone from me anymore, Madara. I will end your life before you can harm any of them. Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Root stated, his face as emotionless as always. Danzo's former student looked at the instrument, the Wii, still wearing his Anbu armor. A fighting game. It looks fun, Kitsune smirked insanely, choosing his character, a monster called Bowser. I'm going to give you the beatdown of your life. I don't think so, Tasuki stated, getting rid of his Akatsuki cloak in a casual manner. The young girl's Rinnegan were shining with anticipation. Root is just better. Shut up or I will kill you, Kitsune growled, much to the girl's amusement. The psychotic boy had menaced her more than once, but she knew it was just for show. He would never do it, liking her too much. Months of time with the Arashi family had tamed the formerly crazy, violent serial killer, well, sort of. Susanoo's death had been incredibly bloody and brutal. Then again, he had tried to kill her with his bare hands in front of Kitsune. He was asking for it. I have made my choice, Root stated, starting the battle with a yellow mouse. Pikachu. You're even crazier than myself, Root. Kitsune laughed. You're no match for me. Tasuki sighed, wandering the empty house. It had been abandoned, like the whole town. It would make a good battlefield. After the battle, her old senseis, Pain and Konan, would be proud. Their killer would die, even with his stolen Rinnegan. A scream of anger brought her back to the Wii and the thing this world's citizens called television. Impossible. Kitsune roared. He beat me. In 20 seconds. With lightning. At that moment, the normally always frowning Root smiled. To victory. To victory. Everybody shouted, drinking. The whole bar was silent and empty, save for the Arashi clan, but it was quite nice. The ambiance was better, familial. Free beer for everybody. Chibaku added. Damn, it's not sake, but it's enough to help make a good last party. Chibi. Tasuki frowned. It isn't our last. Too true, Chibaku smiled, observing the rest of the Arashi. Flora wasn't leaving Kazama's arm, much to his discomfort, while Naruto, Uchimaru, Root and Kitsune were playing poker, or rather losing badly against Naruto's supernatural luck. Still, if it was our last, I wouldn't mind. It's what I've always wanted. It's what we all always wanted, to spend a good time with a true family. Tasuki chuckled. So, who gets to kill Madara first? I do. I leave you the killing blow, after he uses that Izanagi, aka the give reality and death the middle finger while laughing my Uchiha ass off technique. Fine, but I think others will do their best to get the first shot at killing him. Well, that's the game. Let's hope I will be faster. It was time. Kazama stared at the center of the plaza, as space distorted. He's coming. Everybody is ready. Always, Naruto shot back, her kusanagi in her hands. We'll kick his ass. Puppet army is ready and waiting, Chibaku stated, opening his scrolls and releasing 100 dolls. My public, for my last performance, you can expect a lot of fireworks. I will just eat him, Kitsune stated, adopting his werfox form. Horrible meat, but it's for the fun this time, not for sustenance. Mangekyo Sharingan, activated. Uchimaru shouted, his pupils taking the shape of swords. All of this city's life is behind me, Flora smirked, plants sprouting from the ground. I will take on Nagato-sensei, Tasuki said. He deserves it. I am prepared, Root stated, cracking a smile. Here we go. Kazama smiled to them, before turning around. Madara had appeared, his Sharingan and Rinnegan ready. Behind him, 6 Akatsuki members, Kakuzu, Itachi, Kisame, Deidara, Konan and Pain, each having the same mismatched eyes and emotionless faces. Now, let's defeat him once and for all. And everyone attacked, the final battle starting. Currently, they are scattered in 4 worlds. Shadaime, Madara World, Chibaku, Sasori, Haku, Kubaiko. Godime, Itachi World, Kitsune, Gaara, Naruto. Mystery World for now Kazama, Tsukiyomi, Susanoo. Alive, Yondaime World, Kakashi, Yugito. Chapter 25. Harsh Lessons. Groaning as he returned to consciousness, Kazama tried to move, only to find he couldn't. Even his head couldn't twitch at all. Looking down, the Dimension Traveler saw that his body was covered with black lines and spots. Damn seals, he thought, trying to activate his chains without any result. He was sitting on a chair, in front of the gathered people that had promptly restrained him. Geez, you went too far, Jiraiya-sensei, Yahiko stated with a frown. It was pure overkill. I mean, he can't even talk. Serves him right for trying to attack one of my students, the Sannin shrugged. He lowered his head, meeting eyes with Kazama, who was glaring helplessly at the Toad Sage. He doesn't look to have calmed himself even though he's been out for a while. Makes sense, since you keep him in that pitiful state, Konan pointed out, apparently angry. He has a mouth, but he can't even scream. This is torture, and no one deserves such a fate, Jiraiya-sensei. The one called Nagato shook his head in disagreement. Konan, there's something wrong about that guy. He feels off, like a spot on a picture. I can't put a name on that feeling, but he's disturbing my Rinnegan. I have rarely seen a stranger chakra than his. As for why we are keeping him like this, he did attack a friend. Jiraiya smiled. I see at least one person in this room agrees with me, and remember, he wields 2 copies of my teammate's weapon. His gaze moved to Minato Namikaze. And you, Minato-kun. The man Kazama despised seemed trapped in his thoughts, observing his son in silence. He had trashed Kazama in less than 20 seconds, much to the boy's surprise. In fact, the teen's fist hadn't even connected with the man's jaw. He had simply moved so fast that Kazama only thought he landed a hit. In 1 second, he had mopped the floor with his son's face, literally. His chains had only begun to manifest before a powerful kick in the head's back knocked him out. That was the power of a SS-ranked ninja. He had believed Madara was out of his league, the Yondaime was a league of his own. But right now, Kazama's ire was simply overriding his survival instincts. He would attack if freed. Or at least have a rather physical argument with the guy. Realizing his situation though, he breathed deeply, and lowered his pulse. He had to calm himself. He would have to be patient and focused if he wanted to get out of this situation unharmed. Traveling through multiple chaotic worlds had taught him that much, if nothing else. After a short silence and everyone realizing that their prisoner had finally calmed down, Yahiko shrugged. He made a few hand seals, before touching Kazama's cheek. The teen suddenly felt his head regaining some freedom of movement, and the black lines receded up to the neck. Kazama breathed loudly. "Thanks," he said to the man. Yahiko smiled. "No problem. I would have freed you completely, but you know sensei." Jiraiya snorted in disagreement. "You're too naive, Yahiko. It's going to make you suffer one day." Yahiko lifted his hands. "Hey, if you aren't nice to people, how can you be expected to be treated nicely? No one is beyond saving or irredeemable, sensei." Naruto narrowed his eyes. He remembered people like Orochimaru or Kenta, total monsters driven by sadism and evil. Unfortunately, the blonde whispered, "Some people are too horrible to be saved. Sometimes, they need to be put down for the good of everyone else before they harm even more people than they already had." "And who are we to pass judgments?" Yahiko shot back. "Who declared someone couldn't realize his mistakes and try to atone? I think that, as there is always a little shade of evil in a good heart, there is always a shade of good in an evil heart. The important matter is to make it grow when you can." Conan nodded in agreement. "As no there is no absolute good person, there can't be an absolutely evil person." Kazama fell silent, unwilling to start an argument over this. He was still too tired. Instead he eyed Minato. The man was staring at him with his hawk-like eyes. The blue fire inside them was putting the traveler on edge. He felt as if his very soul was being pierced and analyzed by his father. "Is there something on my face?" Naruto Uzumaki asked. Minato Namikaze lowered his stare. "The answer to my questions." He observed his son's features. "You are an Uzumaki, correct?" "Yes," Kazama answered calmly and coldly, much to everyone's amazement. Nagato in particular appeared extremely disturbed. One of the last of them. Happy. The venom in his voice was free, and so very satisfying. Nagato frowned. "Impossible, his chakra is way too twisted to belong to my clan. It is insanely potent, true, but also dark. It looks tainted." He lowered his gaze. "And let's not talk about that star on his belly." Kazama felt his heart cease to move for a split second. Nagato was a member of the Uzumaki clan too. And what did he meant by tainted? And worse of all, he knew about the Shinigami's power. "What are you talking about, you two?" Jiraiya growled. "Minato, he can't be one of them, he doesn't have the hair color." "And what is this taint and star gibberish, Nagato?" "His chakra is mixed with something else," Nagato replied. "I can't put a description on what I'm seeing. It feels like his chakra has different layers. One similar to my own and warm, another cold and sinister. And in the center of his system, I can see a seal containing something incredibly powerful, like a miniature star. What is disturbing me the most, however, is that the seal is powered by a chakra nearly identical to the Kyuubi's." Silence. "What? Oh crap." Kazama suddenly felt in extreme danger, as everyone bar Nagato was gazing at him in surprise. "How can I escape this place without being examined even more?" "I was aware he had a strong connection to the Uzumaki clan," Minato whispered. "His face, it's Kushina's. And his chakra seemed familiar to me. As for the hair color, he probably inherited it from one of his relatives. And the Kyuubi's chakra might have been inherited by Mito, if he's one of her descendants. We lost the track of some of them during the Whirlpool's destruction, after all, so it isn't impossible that man is Mito's lost great-grandson or the like." Kazama decided to stay silent, observing his father like a hunter. "Your face, it's the same as Kushina's. You're her brother or cousin, are you?" Kazama gritted his teeth, seething in disgust. "No, I'm something worse. Yeah, he does have her face," Jiraiya frowned, before paling. "And the rest of his features, impossible." He took a piece of paper in his pocket, made a few hand seals and touched it. Signs appeared. He then placed the paper on Kazama's finger, drawing a little blood with a kunai. Finally, he gave it to Minato. The blonde bit his finger, mixed his blood with his son's, and stared at the paper, frowning. "Get out. All of you. But, get out Yahiko-san, please," Minato said, eyeing his son strangely. "I need to speak to him. Alone." The others looked about to disagree, but Jiraiya nodded. "I understand, boys and girls, let's talk about your adventures outside. It's a private matter. Plus, I would like to know more about the group you've made recently." Konan's frown deepened, but Yahiko put his hand on her shoulder. The two crossed gazes, and after a short while, they left wordlessly, Nagato and Jiraiya behind. The Rinnegan user and the Toad Sage stared at Kazama one last time, and then went outside. Minato wordlessly showed his son the paper. On it, the kanji, father, was written on it. It's a seal designed to analyze the chakra signature of people and establish parentage between them, and well, he lowered his eyes, the expression inside indecipherable. Are you, my son? Kazama said nothing for a few minutes, thinking about his options. Lying would be useless. Saying the truth would give him the opportunity to finally talk to his father on even terms. In the end, after a short time of thinking, he decided to be honest. He told him everything. The destroyer, Susanoo. He loved his old hideout. Mostly because of the symbolism. Made of the bones of gigantic monsters which ruled the land in the distant past, it was a good way to remember that even the greatest can fall if not careful, leaving their thrones to stronger creatures. That was the law of nature, the fate of all beings, to be replaced and supplanted by stronger lifeforms, if unable to take the necessary measures. The land was silent, but Susanoo's Rinnegan had noticed a familiar chakra signature. A tainted chakra so similar to his own, but also somewhat different. Show yourself, I am a friend. I wish to make an alliance with you. After a short silence, someone indeed stepped out of the shadows. The Rinnegan and the Sharingan. At the same time, I must admit I am astonished. The individual was obviously a woman, but somewhat off. She was clad in a black kimono, had long black hair, and was wearing a white, featureless mask. She was thinner than most women, and the little skin that was exposed was deathly pale. From two holes, two Sharingan were eyeing Madara warily. Strange, however. The seal I placed on his eyes is still in place. That isn't Nagato's Rinnegan. Susanoo frowned. While the woman's chakra was sinister, it wasn't similar to the Uchiha lords. It wasn't even blessed by Mikabashi, just naturally tainted. Madara. The woman chuckled. I'm afraid not. My master died of old age a few years ago. I am his apprentice and legacy. You can call me whatever you want. Have you no name? Damn, if his counterpart was dead, then they would have to adjust their original plan. At least this woman seemed strong and loyal to the dead Uchiha lord. I don't want one. I want to be no one. All I care about is completing the Moon's Eye plan. Her eyes met his own. Who are you? Another of Master's apprentices. Susanoo chuckled, and took off his mask. The face was still scarred by the results of his fight with his Senju arch-rival, but the features were easily recognizable. The woman took a step back in surprise. Master. How is it possible? I saw you die. I am not your master, Susanoo replied. I am another Madara Uchiha, also called Susanoo. It's complicated. It would seem so, she whispered and bowed respectfully. I am loyal to you and your legacy. What do you want from me? As I said, I'm here to make an alliance with you, to treat you as an equal and not a servant, Susanoo stated. We have the same plans. But I want to do it on a whole different scale, no one. I need to present you to my fellow, Tsukiyomi. It will become clear to you. He cracked his fingers. By the way, do you have the statue? Not yet, the woman said without losing her composure. Nagato hasn't summoned it from wherever the sage sealed it. But with Hanzo's growing obsession with him and the recent arrival of his new ally, it won't be long before he's forced to summon it. I might even have to help him if it isn't enough. I don't see how Hanzo or Danzo could rival the statue's power, even if it hasn't consumed any tailed beast yet, Susanoo spoke calmly, putting his mask on his face again. The woman seemed to falter. If only it was Danzo. Hanzo decided to contact someone more vicious here. I'm afraid Hanzo called upon the worst kind of enforcer, one that likes his job. Susanoo frowned behind his mask. The traveler, Kazama. His father seemed lost in his own thoughts. So, that's it, all of it. Yes, Kazama replied with a neutral tone. The older man had listened to his explanations in a calm manner, asking a few questions, and seeming more and more disturbed as time passed. You don't appear to believe me. The man sat on the table. That is an unbelievable story, Naruto. Don't call me like that, the team cut in. I forbid you. I'm Arashi Kazama now. Uzumaki Naruto died long ago. The Yondaime looked as if he had been punched in the face. Alright, it's an incredible story, I admit I have doubts. But the seal didn't lie, you truly are my son by blood. I'm more however inclined to think you're just some kind of weapon engineered with my DNA and given false memories, maybe the result of Yagura's abhorrent life-enhancing program, so you would target me or Konoha as a whole. That is far more probable than your tale of traveling through worlds and fighting Uchiha Madara and some mad scientist-like copy of Orochimaru-san. However, the incredible quantity of sensible information you know is disturbing. It's not very clear. What do you know about the prophecy? Enough, he rasped. How can you discard your own son, condemning him to a life of suffering, just because a senile old frog said so? I would never do that. Minato roared in seemingly genuine anger. Or maybe was it for the village? His son seethed, taking the man aback. For all those fools and idiots. Don't speak of them that way. Minato replied. Konoha is my home. That is the Hokage's duty to do everything in his power to save them. Even sacrificing his own blood. So you admit. I admit that if I had the choice between sacrificing myself and my son and saving thousands of people, I would. He narrowed his eyes. That is the mark of a true hero. The ability to cast what he holds dear to save the many. Kazama's face twisted into pure rage. He remembered how much his life had been one full of loneliness. In his mind, dark whispers were bringing back old, sorrowful memories. They hated you. They despised you. They didn't deserve to live. They should have suffered in your place. All of them. Even after everything they did, how can you? I know what they did and will do. Minato cut in. I have seen too many people acting stupidly not to know they shall cause pain for no reason again. Humans aren't inherently good. But they try. They might fail, but they try. That alone is enough to save them. People can only come to understand each other in times of peace and happiness. That is why I, as the Hokage, must do the necessary sacrifices to maintain stability. Are you insane? Our world is one of bloodshed. I am the living embodiment of your failures to make people change. They must know pain and hardship in order to change and understand their mistakes, or else they stay selfish. Selfishness is mankind's true nature, and power its tool. Denying this is an illusion. Accepting it is the way to salvation. There can only be revival through destruction. Minato narrowed his eyes. How can you expect people to be kind in a world torn by endless war? That's your question. Then my answer is simple, because I intend to end the endless war part. How? By breaking the spiral of death the ninja world is built on. Kazama frowned. By leaving people who do criminal deeds go unpunished. No, by forsaking revenge and enforcing fair justice, Minato replied, observing his son emotionlessly. Do you know about the spiral of death? This is the concept that rules this world. One's actions hurt somebody, that somebody hurts the person in return, the friends of the wounded try to avenge him, and so on, until a war erupts. Such a thing can only cause the progressive destruction of mankind, as it can only end with one side exterminating the other, or by mutual destruction. I am trying a third option, trying to end the feud. What does it have to do with? However, this can't be done without sacrificing, Minato cut in. As I realized myself, only one able to sacrifice what he holds dear can end such a circle, as rarely are people able to make compromises. For the many to be truly happy, one person must sacrifice his entire existence to maintain their happiness. That is what a true Hokage is, a human sacrifice like the demon vessels. By my sacrifice, I can give people what they need to become better, peace. Even if I have to kill myself, my son, my wife, as long as there is a seed of hope born out of such sacrifice, I am ready to do it. Kazama felt silent, unable to process those words. In the back of his mind, dark whispers fell silent. I have seen it all, Minato continued his monologue. I have seen Kushina, my love, being berated by others for being the Kyuubi's incarnation. I have seen the pain left by war. I have seen men and women so traumatized by hardships they became demons themselves and lashed out at everything. But I have also seen good things. I have seen villagers rebuilding their homes, parents loving their kids, saints dedicating their life to others. That is, no matter what Konoha will do in the future, I won't hate its citizens. I know they have the potential to be both good and evil. They just need an example. An example. A paragon of goodness. A hero. Minato closed his eyes. A person who everyone can look up at, a source of inspiration. That is what people need in this dark world. A light that can show them the way to salvation and peace. He was the old Naruto. He was like the old Kazama, inspiring others with his strength and determination, giving hope in the future. This ideal is what I would give my life for, Minato continued, his blue eyes gazing into his son's. Can you now understand my position? Prophecy or no prophecy, I would do it. Because if my sacrifice can inspire others to become good, then it would be worth it in the end. Both blondes stayed silent. It inspired no one. Kazama's tone was pitiful, almost remorseful. It just ruined my childhood. Your sacrifice inspired their hate. It was all senseless. You should have let them die. Then, what would have happened? I had done nothing. Minato asked. Kazama tried to find an answer, and struggled to find one. Maybe the Kyuubi could have been sealed in another person, or the Kyuubi would have been killed. If another person had been chosen, the Kyuubi would have burned him or her from the inside. Only an Uzumaki can hold him safely. And what would have happened had Konoha lost the Kyuubi? War and destruction. How many lives would have been lost? And if the Kyuubi hadn't been stopped, thousands of people, among them countless innocents, would have been killed. Thousands of children would never have been born. I think it would be worth a sacrifice, even if an unrewarded one. People are corrupt, Kazama shot back. They can only understand each other through pain. Minato lowered his eyes. I guess we are too different, yet also too similar, to understand each other's point of view. But you deserve freedom and a good life. He touched his son's chest. In a flash, both found themselves in a canyon, under the rain. I free you, Uzumaki Naruto, Namikaze Minato said, taking a silver kunai laying on the soil. I will be wary the day Kushina shall give birth, so my child will never have to face the ordeals you have experienced. He smiled. I know you will find happiness and peace one day. Also, even if my child ends up turning out like you, I would still be proud of him. Wait, but the man had already vanished. You, Kazama muttered. He could feel his limbs. He was free once again. Why did you flee? Our conversation wasn't finished. As no one answered, he raised his head to watch the clouds. No, he knew all that needed to be said had been. But why did he felt so unsatisfied? You do not seem happy. Kazama's felt his blood freeze in his veins. He turned around. A dark figure was observing him from above the cliff. So, Tsukiyomi's voice was full of amusement. What do you think of your father? He is quite the fool, isn't he? A brave and pure one, I will give him that, but a fool nonetheless. Sacrificing oneself and exceptional people without their consent for the ungrateful masses, isn't it pure insanity? He should have saved his family instead. Quality is more important than quantity. Sacrificing people without their consent just make them hate, starting the circle of revenge anew. Kazama clenched his fists. You were watching all along, weren't you? Not all along. He leapt next to the blonde in a regal manner. I had noticed people with Konin, familiar people. I sensed someone messing with space, and I immediately recognized the technique, having fought Minato Namikaze's dangerous jutsu. So I followed and observed. Why did you leave me to talk to him instead of attacking? Kazama asked. I thought you disliked him. I don't dislike him, I loathe, I despise, I hate him, Madara replied in a tone that sounded completely pleasant. But I thought it would be a good thing for you to talk to him. After all, it is good for one to know its roots, or else it can't become a solid tree. Hashirama was right on this point. The team felt silent. Tsukiyomi was watching him like a hawk. He's idealistic. He believes people can always become good. That is what makes him different from us, the Uchiha laughed scornfully. Can you imagine someone like Orochimaru turning good, just because you try to be an example? Good and evil are just a perspective. Everyone has his own morality. Some may share elements, but two people can't exactly have the same vision of the world. The dream of Konoha was to make thousands share the same code of conduct. It's still my dream, in a different way. But the code I want impose is that everyone should find his own nindo. Kazama lowered his gaze. What is your goal? Your real goal, beyond that, conquer the multiverse thing. I already told you. To create a world where gifted individuals wouldn't be shackled by the masses, Tsukiyomi continued. My original way was the obliteration of all unworthy minds. An illusion that only the best would have been able to break, cast over the whole world. That was the best way I had found to reveal the hidden potential of mankind. But now, my goal is to create a reunion. A reunion. With your power, all the gifted, the best, the strongest, the smartest, of all worlds, could unite and create a utopia separate from the trash that consists of the rest of the worlds. There would be sacrifices, of course. Chains shall have to be broken, the masses to be tamed, the failure of Konoha burned to the ground to give place for a one universal order. There was no hint of doubt or madness in his voice or lone eye. He genuinely meant the words he was saying. So, wouldn't this vision be worth it? Tsukiyomi offered his hand to Kazama. Join me, and we will make it true. We will make our own dreams true. We will give meaning to the visions of the visionaries. Together, we can hold reality itself in the palm of our hand and reshape everything in our image. I refuse, Kazama replied without hesitation. My decision won't change. I can't forgive you for what you did to me, my loved ones, and others. I never expected you to, Tsukiyomi chuckled. Yet, what about my other offer? I can give you the power to never depend on someone else again. If you refuse to join me, I can at least awake your full potential. Is becoming my pupil of any interest to you? Not so long ago, Kazama's answer would have been obvious. But that was before his meeting with his father. The teen had been trashed by Minato Namikaze. The Wanderer was strong, as he did defeat Orochimaru, even in a weakened state, but it wasn't enough. He needed more power to save his loved ones. He needed power to defeat Madara. Power is neither evil or good, dark whispers twisted his thoughts. Who cares about its source? Power is what can help me save my loved ones. If I had power, Haku wouldn't have died, Sasuke wouldn't have gone traitor, I would have been able to protect my family. Plus, maybe learning about Madara would give the teen the edge in a future battle, he could observe his abilities and weaknesses. What would be my training? He finally asked, quite unhappily. Tsukiyomi's lone Sharingan was almost shining with glee. Interested, I see, he whispered. Well, I shall teach you everything. But mostly, ninja techniques, field tactics, survival skills and most of all, how to develop your own natural talents. Kazama was decided to exploit the situation. Know your enemy if you want to defeat it, alright, he whispered, half-heartedly. Please teach me. The dark mentor, Tsukiyomi. And so, the training began. The Uchiha Lord teleported the two of them somewhere else in the Land of Rain, on one of the many battlefields of the war. It was a desolate land, where ashes were mixing with the rain. Everybody had left, but a few skeletons were still present, unburied. A few craters were scattered around them. This will be the perfect place, Tsukiyomi stated, letting the rain touch his mask. The thrill of victory was possessing him. The teen had finally responded to his propositions by the affirmative. Of course, such sudden change of behavior could only be explained by a thirst for revenge against his father, or some ulterior motive. Madara knew that very well, and didn't care. He was aware of the attraction of power. He would give a bit to the blonde, until he would think only about maximizing it. It was the Uchiha way. It was the only way. It is the land of the dead. A monument to pain and bloodshed, but also valor and determination. He observed his student, two Kusanagi, Orochimaru's fabled weapons. He might make a fine duelist one day, but for now, Madara preferred to focus on something more showy. Swords were deadly, but not as impressive as ninjutsu. Impressing the blonde, tempting him, would get better results. First, tell me, what do you know about the Azure Dragon? I saw you using a bastardized version last time we fought. And what do you know about the other schools? The teen frowned. I know it's a fighting style focusing on redirecting an opponent's attacks and using precise blows. A friend taught the basic to me. I know about the other four styles. But are you aware of the history behind them? Tsukiyomi asked, and the Wanderer replied by the negative. They were the main fighting schools of the Uzumaki. They're among the ancestors of modern ninjutsu, or I should say modern ninjutsu is just a bastardized version of these styles and others from all lands, formed from scattered knowledge. These 5 styles were lost when the land of Whirlpool was lost. How fortunate of you to have found a still living user. He would have to investigate the subject later to entice the boy further. They each represent a different way of fighting. Or rather, different tactics. The Azure Dragon, in its purest form, mixes middle-range attacks and close combat. It is made to make the best of all opportunities, balancing defense and offense without exhausting oneself. No move must be done in vain, all attacks are precise and deadly. Orochimaru is a good example of how an Azure Dragon fights. The Vermilion Bird is all offense. A user tries to overwhelm the enemy with powerful attacks, most of the time staying at distance to use large area, long-range jutsus, and to make up for the lack of defensive moves. Defense is just stopping an oncoming technique with a stronger one. I am the very embodiment of that style. The White Tiger is another all-offensive style, but it is focused on close combat. A user is incredibly fast and prevents his opponent from finishing hand seal sequences, avoiding blows instead of parrying them. As a result, they are generally weak at long range, unless they develop long-range attacks to make up for it. They are very graceful and unpredictable, like dancers. It's like that bone freak, Naruto said out loud, attracting Madara's attention. I once fought a guy that could manipulate his bones. I never managed to land a hit on him. It must have been a Kagaya, Tsukiyomi nodded. I thought Yagura had exterminated them all in our world, no matter. The Kagaya were a clan whose battling dances were effectively descendants of the White Tiger style. As their Kekkei Genkai made them almost invulnerable and gave an infinite supply of projectiles, without any hand seals, they had covered all the style's weaknesses, making them almost unbeatable. It was fortunate that they were all insane and undisciplined. If they had managed to fight like a cohesive force and obeyed Kiri's strategy, a few wars might have ended differently. The Black Tortoise is the opposite, a defensive style. The user waits for the enemy to attack, then take advantages of the weak points and opportunities to respond with powerful assaults. Defending, waiting, then acting fast and going for the kill. Your friend Gaara is a perfect example, except he uses sand instead of water. He waits for the enemy to make a mistake trying to get around the defense, then launches an attack, and finally returns back to defense. It's like punching a wall of iron, you only hurt your hand trying. Finally, the Golden Unicorn is the more or less the prototype of Iwa's fighting schools. The user trades speed for pure force and an excellent defense. The Golden Unicorn advances slowly, but it can't be stopped and the blows cannot be parried. Susanoo is a master of such method. He advances more slowly than myself or Amaterasu, even with the Rinnegan, but in the end, all you can do is delay him. He will shrug off all attacks and reply with brute strength. Naruto Uzumaki narrowed his eyes. Why are you telling me this? Because you are using the wrong style, Tsukiyomi explained. With your reserves and affinities, you are built for purely aggressive styles. I am sure the Azure Dragon would eventually be perfect for you, once you have polished your techniques. Currently, however, you would be better suited learning the Vermilion Bird, and maybe later the White Tiger. The first because your reserves allow for large areas attacks in quantity, and the second because it is extremely efficient when associated with swordsmanship, if you want to go on that path. I, however, suggest you to drop swordsmanship altogether, at least for the time being. Why? Swords have saved my life more than once. The blonde seemed almost insulted. I never said you should get rid of them. I am sure you have earned these 2 Kusanagi of yours and can use them well. Commanding your 2 Kusanagi by will would make them incredible projectiles and excellent supports. But wielding them would prevent you from making the hand seals necessary for area jutsu, or at least make it extremely difficult for you to react quickly. Trust my experience, swordsmanship is deadly at close range, but crippling at long range. You need far more speed than you currently have to get rid of that problem by closing gaps, like Amaterasu or Maeda Gai. Precise hand strikes can be as efficient and leave you free to use ninjutsu. It doesn't mean you have to abandon them, just focus on mastering ninjutsu first. The teen appeared disappointed, looked at his swords, and touched them. Ninjutsu. Are you going to show me wind techniques? I know it's your affinity, but it needs an excellent chakra control to inflict lethal wounds by manipulating the shape to be razor sharp. I prefer to work on an element that, while less versatile, doesn't need nearly as much control to be effective. It is also, fortunately, the one I know the best. Joining his fingers, Madara unleashed a burst of blue fire at the rainy clouds. It managed to reach them without dissipating. Fire is an excellent element for you to learn. It is powerful, versatile, and, with your reserves, usable at will. But wind comes easier, the blonde pointed out. And here is the problem. You use the easier path. Learning an element you aren't born to use is more difficult, but it makes you develop more self-control, discipline, patience and willpower. You will struggle with your nature, and you will tame it. He joined his palms. If one is to control the world, one must first rule himself. The true enemy is the self, or rather the limits imposed by it. Overcoming them makes everything possible. Then why aren't we taught that first? Kazama asked. Because the current learning program is made to create ninjas as fast as possible to power the war effort, even if there isn't a war. My method creates better ninjas, but it takes more time. It was abandoned since it became obvious it was too slow. Only geniuses still go on that path, like Kakashi, Orochimaru, Itachi. Why didn't Kakashi teach me that way? Kazama cursed. He only taught me Win. A wise decision, Madara commented, surprising the blonde. Think about it. You were pursued by me. You lacked time. So giving you a decent level of power as fast as possible was the best course of action. It would have always been possible to teach you the better way after we Uchiha were out of the picture. Focusing on his joined palms, Madara began hand seal sequences. Today, I will teach you the basic technique of the Uchiha, the Great Fireball. It is the perfect jutsu to start practicing fire release. Once you have mastered it, I will teach you more advanced attacks based on the Vermilion Bird style. We might begin that before noon, if you are enough of a fast learner. At the same time, we will begin to work on your exceptional power. Of course, he didn't mean the world-jumping power, yet. Tsukiyomi was more interested in making his sort of student use the abilities offered by his link to Mikabashi. It would both accelerate his ascension and increase his capacities. Behind his mask, Madara smiled. This would be an interesting time indeed. The Wanderer, Kazama. At first, mastering Sasuke's jutsu had been very difficult, even with the help of clones. Kazama felt like trying to become a dragon, breathing fire and not air. It just didn't come as easily as wind did, not that his natural element came with ease at first either, mind you. Madara showed him how to shape the chakra into the element, gathering it in the stomach and then unleashing it, but the best the blonde managed to do was to make hot air. Then, Tsukiyomi gave him a tip. Fire is linked to emotions. The strongest one's emotions are, the stronger fire becomes. Love will make it a warm, controlled flame. Hate will give it the shape and power of a destructive inferno. When you try to use the technique, picture yourself burning Konoha and all your former false friends with it. Do it each time you use flames. He did. Surprisingly, he managed to use the technique. Fire suddenly became easy after that. Using clones, Kazama managed to use the Great Fireball easily in around 2 hours, although he didn't really master it, as it lacked the grace and power of Sasuke's, and its form was not really uniform. The fireball was sending sparks all over the ground, and was obviously inferior to Sasuke's. Tsukiyomi wasted no time and decided to speed up the training by expanding his students' repertory. He showed him different, advanced techniques, like the Great Fire Annihilation. The difference with the fireball jutsu was making it form a wall of flames, serving as both a defense and attack. Memorizing the techniques shown to him, Kazama realized his amoral teacher had no weakness. Or rather, no weak point to be exploited. His ability to become intangible had made defense unimportant, allowing him to focus on overwhelming the opponent with powerful attacks from distance, and his teleportation technique make reaching him extremely difficult. The only way Kazama could see himself killing the Uchiha was to fill the gap between them, and then hit him with his chains before he could get away. That alone would be a feat, and Madara had already shown himself to be able to survive lethal wounds. In short, the blonde was hopelessly outmatched, at least for the moment, unless he could take the man off guard. Or overwhelm him with pure power. Both were unlikely. At the end of the day, the Uchiha forced him to sit and adopt a meditating pose. We will try to unlock your supreme ability, he explained. Empty your mind. Focus on oblivion. Try to shed your human existence and ascend. Kazama reluctantly obeyed. He didn't want to show the man he himself didn't know how to use his power effectively and safely. But on the other hand, mastering it was maybe the only way to get rid of the different Madara once and for all. Meditating was similar to his attempt at mastering fire. But this time, it felt strange. Kazama couldn't put a word on it. It was similar to what he felt back when he escaped from Orochimaru's cell. Some sort of alien sensation, beyond words and emotions. Then, the world became black and empty. Pure nothingness. And in the center of it all, a purple star. Kazama suddenly opened in his eyes in dread. But he was not near Madara. The landscape was a green plain. The skies were blue, a huge cloud flying above. People were running. No, fleeing in fear and hopeless despair. The skies lightened, becoming red. A pillar of light descended from the cloud, scorching the land. The people were burned alive, reduced to ashes. In a blink, the plain became ash gray. Observing the skies in terror, the blonde realized it wasn't a cloud. It was some kind of structure, a huge, flying monster of iron. It was red, but it wasn't really like the vault. It had wings of metal, and had the shape of a bird. But it was obviously a man-made structure. And atop of it, a man in red. Panting, Kazama found himself back to the training ground, observed by Madara. "You look mortified," the Uchiha stated. "What did you see?" "Death," the wanderer massaged his temples. "And myself." The dark mentor, Tsukiyomi. After the meditation accident, Madara dropped that part of the training altogether. He didn't know what Mikabashi had in mind, but it wasn't pretty. The boy was obviously disturbed by whatever he saw, and the Uchiha wanted him focused. Sometimes, Madara hoped he could talk to Mikabashi at will. But he knew they both had their own plans, and, if not incompatible, were still different. Both didn't want the other to screw up their own plot for the future. The Star God had already done him a favor by separating the boy from his friends. He couldn't ask for much more than that. The following days followed a simple schedule. During the morning, Madara would bring food and water, then train the blonde with fire release. He also showed him the basis of the vermilion bird moves. The boy was naturally fast, but he wasn't genetically designed for quick movements like the Uchiha were. He lacked grace and would never match Itachi's speed and agility. It was just the way of things. The boy would be good, but not a prodigy, in this field. Madara knew most clans had a breeding program of sort, arranging marriages to make their younglings adapted to their respective jutsu, sometimes to the point of practicing inbreeding. The Hyuga and Uchiha were perfect examples, attempting to make natural speed demons through genetic selection. The secrets of the clan stayed within the clan, as an added bonus. Zetsu had even once informed him that Hiyashi's wife was his cousin, with the goal of increasing the main house's already impressive chakra control. But on the other hand, the blonde was a ninjutsu prodigy. Even Itachi or Kakashi never mastered advanced techniques as fast as the boy, at least when they weren't using the Sharingan. He had thought it would take a few months for him to use fire, but it appeared to come naturally for him. True, it only came after he told him to use emotions to power flames up, but Naruto Uzumaki had a natural understanding of the working of ninjutsu techniques. Maybe was it a combination of Minato's own unnatural talent and the Uzumaki's bloodline? Tsukiyomi knew the Uzumaki's chakra was so potent it allowed its bearer to master all affinities, or at least 3 of them without issue, but he never expected it to be so efficient. In 2 days, Naruto had effectively managed to use the Great Fire Annihilation, the most powerful defensive move a Kaiden master could hope for. But the shape was quite bad, not uniform, and he wasted an incredible amount of chakra using it. It would take multiple weeks for him to learn how to use his repertory properly, as his skills lacked refinement, but still. In a decade, he might become a true Kaiden master. If he managed to live to Madara's age, he might even surpass Pain's ninjutsu and become second only to the great sage. But when Madara attempted to teach him genjutsu, he realized that, in stark contrast with his incredible predisposition with ninjutsu, the blonde was the worst illusionist ever. Only slightly better than Maeda Guy and his student. Tsukiyomi had never seen that. The teen couldn't manage even the simplest illusions. The henge was a ninjutsu technique using chakra to change one's appearance, whereas genjutsu was changing the way the opponent perceived the world around himself. As it turned out, the Uzumaki was utterly unable to even change how Madara perceived the color of a rock. He doubted it was a problem of chakra control. The boy had an average control, sufficient to perform illusions that were not too complex, even with his inhumanly large natural reserves. It was, in the Uchiha's opinion, a reflection of both his inner conflict, that troubled his concentration and focus, a lack of understanding of the nature of illusions, and his own mental barriers. Both Amaterasu and Tsukiyomi had managed to trap him into an illusion, and as the result the mind had begun to develop a natural resistance to it. It was a natural process. Once someone is exposed to many illusions, the mind would pick the hints he's influenced faster and try to fight back. Most of the time, master illusionists are themselves almost immune to such tactics, and genjutsu battles are truly impressive displays of intelligence, willpower and trickery. On the other hand, ninjas that had been exposed to powerful tricks multiple times could still fall under genjutsu, but they could also break from them faster or force the illusionist to strengthen the hold on the victim to keep him under control. After being exposed to the pinnacle of the Uchiha skill twice, it was to be expected from the boy's brain to protect itself better. But, in the same way someone focused on shielding himself is unwilling to attack, the mind is rather adverse at using genjutsu on others. After one day of unsuccessful experiments, Madara dropped the subject altogether in favor of focusing on taijutsu and ninjutsu. He also attempted to teach him shogi, but the team didn't show any interest in the game. He was only interested in fighting skills. Well, Tsukiyomi would have to wait until the young could open himself to his words. As the night fell, Madara left his student alone to sleep, teleporting away. It had been 4 days since he came here, and Susanoo hadn't contacted him yet. Finding his ally's signature, he teleported next did. Tsukiyomi found himself in a rather dark place, some kind of crypt illuminated by torches. The walls were made of green stone. On the ground, there were multiple sarcophaguses made of gold and silver. Susanoo was opening one, stopping when he noticed his counterpart. "What were you doing? It has been 4 days since I sensed you leave Conan's house." "I was about to ask you a similar question. Let's say I was occupied at showing the boy what real power was." He observed the corpse inside the sarcophagus, covered with strips. "So that's what you were doing? Grave robbing." The recruit already did most of the work, the other replied, taking the strips and revealing the body's identity. "The Nadaime Tsuchikage. After I met our new ally and you vanished, I decided to recreate my paths. Why not use the opportunity while I had nothing better to do? At war, most forces aren't focused on protecting the graves of their leaders, so I thought about making powerful ninjas my thralls. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my claws on any cage, until this one." "A brilliant idea," Tsukiyomi said. He was, however, slightly preoccupied. With the power of the greatest leaders of the 5 nations at his fingertip, Susanoo might be able to get rid of his ally quite easily. He had to be wary. Maybe he should sabotage his development, just in case. "You intend to make this body a path?" "Yes and no," Susanoo answered, taking some flesh from the dead man's face with a chakra scalpel. "I had thought about doing this at first, but Izanami proposed a far better use for the corpses." "Izanami? Our counterpart is a girl." "No, our counterpart was a male, but he unfortunately passed away years ago. I found his apprentice, a nameless Uchiha woman calling herself No One. So I gave her a name, and she accepted it without giving it importance." Tsukiyomi didn't bother to hide his contempt. A human without a name wasn't a person, but a tool, a non-entity. If she hadn't even a name and refused to have one, then she was nothing. How could his counterpart even take such a thing as an apprentice? Is she powerful? Depends on your perception of powerful. On one hand, she isn't blessed by Mikabashi, she doesn't have our experience, and her strength can't compare to our own. But on the other hand, she has the Sharingan, appears to be very good at genjutsu, can teleport and become intangible like us. Without Mikabashi's help, the mastermind was both impressed and genuinely astonished. "Yes, I had the same reaction, but she can use these powers on her own. It is still a mystery for me, and she refused to answer my questions about it." A nameless person who still wants to keep secrets, Tsukiyomi mused. Quite ironic. Indeed, and I have no idea of who she is. But she has a very interesting skill. Susanoo raised his head. "Speaking of the devil, Tsukiyomi-sama," a woman in black said, entering the crypt. She felt off. Her voice was soft, but similar to a deathly whisper. Her left hand was holding the neck of an Iwanin, looking barely alive, his arms and legs broken. "I am honored to meet you. Izanami-san," Madara whispered affably. "The pleasure is all mine. Izanami, I have the material," Susanoo stated, giving her the flesh. "Please, show my counterpart your special technique." "With pleasure." She threw the captured nin on the floor, took a scroll from under her robe, put it on the ground, took the flesh from Susanoo's hand and slammed it on it. A huge seal extended from the paper and enveloped the man. Ashes and earth swirled around him, covering him and changing his appearance. He didn't scream, just looking impassively at the woman. At the end of the ritual, the man had vanished, leaving the Nadaime Tsuchikage in his place. The man was covered with bandages and still had his headband in this undead state, but his eyes were completely black save for his pupils. He stared at the 3 Sharingan users. This technique, only Tobirama knew it. "Fools, do you realize what you have done? I think you, of all people, should comprehend the use of such power, Susanoo laughed. Aren't you the most ruthless of all Tsuchikage? This isn't about ruthlessness, the Nadime shot back. It is about your soul. May the Shinigami spit on your grave. Izanami stabbed him in the back of the head with a kunai, making him silent. His gaze became empty of any emotion. You understand why I called her Izanami, now? Susanoo mused. The goddess of the dead. I see, Tsukiyomi said, both impressed and disturbed. He observed Izanami. You know the price to pay for using such a technique will be very high. She shrugged. I don't care. I have nothing of value to lose. All I care about is realizing the Moon's Eye plan and bringing salvation to this miserable, meaningless world. The Uchiha stayed silent a few moments. I guess my other self didn't teach you optimism. Had he at least taught you about the statue and its use? Strange. Why hasn't she brought my counterpart back from the dead with her power, if she's so loyal? I have a bad feeling about this. Speaking of it, Susanoo muttered. The summoning is going to happen tomorrow at dawn. After the meeting with Hanzo and Yagura happens, Nagato will be ripe for the killing and… Yagura. Tsukiyomi cut in. What is the meaning of this? The situation isn't the same as in your own universe, Izanami explained softly. My Hanzo is different from your own. He might have lost himself in his path to power, but he is still somewhat loyal to his land. Konoha almost invaded it, so he asked for a different ally to protect it. The Mizukage was all too happy to answer the call. Yagura is invading the eastern part of the continent, and he wants to make a junction with Aim's forces in order to take down Konohagakure, Susanoo added. Getting rid of Yahiko is part of their agreement. This was not a good thing. Yagura will kill Nagato the second he sees his eyes, Tsukiyomi stated. His Biju knows about the power of the sage. This will be a bloodbath. Unless we make sure things don't go south, Susanoo pointed out. Tsukiyomi grudgingly nodded. I guess my unwilling student will have to wait a bit. The Wanderer, Kazama. It all began with a dream. At night, he had fallen asleep, next to a warm campfire. Tsukiyomi had vanished for who knows how long, leaving him alone. It was nice, of course, letting Kazama think tranquilly. A few days. He had to wait a few days to escape from the Uchiha's claws and gain his freedom. This would let him find his family. Thinking about it, maybe his power could help him locate them. So when he slept, he found himself in front of the web of mirrors. Touching it, the blonde closed his eyes and focused. Please, help me find them, he silently prayed. Let me see where they are. Let me see them alive. When he opened his eyes, the mindscape was changing. The first dream he saw was a battle. Naruto, Kitsune, Gaara, Itachi and 3 Uchiha were fighting a red, terrifying fog, 6 lights shining in its center. The second dream was also a battle. A duel. Haku was fighting a terrifying shadow with iron claws, in a room full of icy mirrors on which she could see twisted reflections of a blonde man in a suit. Not far away, Kubaiko was holding an unconscious Chibaku in his hands and fleeing a wall of fire, having adopted the shape of a masked beast. The third dream wasn't a battle. Sasori and a hooded man were confronting a priestess, talking. Suddenly, black mud rained from the skies, covering the Miko. Both Sasori and the hooded man made hand signs, readying themselves to face a monster made of mud. The helpless priestess was screaming, working as the thing's unwilling heart. The fourth dream was again a battle. Yugito was avoiding the attacks of 2 men. One was made of gold, with a human heart. The other was a puppet, whose strings were manipulated by a large, omnipotent darkness. The fifth dream was taking place in a great throne room. A little girl was chained to a throne of iron, 2 demons circling her, growling in unsatisfied hunger. Kakashi was also there, talking to a man, whose body fell apart to reveal the raging, insane monster underneath. All his friends and family members were in obvious danger. And he was powerless to help them. So he prayed he could rush at their help. They need me, he thought in horror. I must come to their aid, I must use the seal, even with the risks. But then came the sixth dream, more vivid than any other. It was somewhere in the land of rain, near hills, at dawn. Yahiko, Konan and Nagato were alone, surrounded by dead people. Atop a hill, a man was standing, wearing blue samurai armor and wielding a kusurai gama. He had a sort of helmet-like respirator on his mouth, the Omegakure's headband, brown eyes, and long blonde hair. Unlike the previous dreams, Naruto could hear what was happening here clearly. So you have finally come, he whispered with a deep voice. I was waiting for you. You were late. Hanzo, Yahiko seethed in dread. What's the meaning of this? Isn't it obvious? It's a trap, Nagato stated with an angry face. He murdered them all, and we are next on his kill list. Why did you do this, Hanzo? Conan shouted. You used to be Aim's hero. It is true that I doesn't deserve the title of hero anymore, Hanzo replied with a sorrowful voice. But I am still my homeland's defender. I know who you are. I know you are Jiraiya's students. You are spawns from Konoha, and you would have sold this country to them had I left you alive. That's a lie, Yahiko screamed. No. Then how can you explain your meeting with the fourth Hokage? Hanzo shot back in anger. So many people are dying on the front lines to keep them at bay, and you dare to betray these brave men and women for our enemies. We were trying to negotiate peace. Yahiko replied. The Hokage agreed to leave Aim alone. He said he understood our situation. And you believed him. Fool, Konoha can't be trusted. These tree huggers preach about peace, but they conveniently ignore their own doctrine. There can't be peace with them, only war and annihilation. That's wrong, Conan shouted. Peace can be achieved if people talk to each others. Mutual understanding can cease all conflicts. Wars bring nothing but pain, death and meaningless violence. Hanzo stayed silent. But someone else laughed. It was a mocking, genuine laugh, echoing through the whole field. A child slowly walked from behind the hill, with a sadistic, cruel smile on his face. And how would that be bad? Violence is never meaningless, just always fun. Well, he looked like a teenager. He was very small, had short gray-green hair, was wearing a green poncho, his eyes were purple, and he had a large scar running from his left eye to the cheek. The Kiri's headband was placed on a black belt, above black pants and boots. He was wielding a staff-like hook weapon with a green flower on the large end. You pacifists are all ridiculous. Such silly idealism disgusts me. Don't you understand the value of war and conflict? That is all there is to know about life. The strong has the right and duty to kill the weak to purify our species' gene pool. The Mizukage, Yagura. Nagato's fear was almost palpable. How could you bring this madman here? Conan said to Hanzo. He's a monster. He is destroying his own people. A monster. You can't find a better insult. Yagura laughed. I am simply purifying my species. My blood police is making a better Kurigaker, culling the weak and butchering failures, be them civilians, shinobi, clansmen and bloodline wielders. Even the academy is participating in the rebirth of this formerly pathetic country. How can you deny it is human progress? The reason I invited him here. Hanzo spoke. We share a common goal. Konoha is a menace to both of our countries. Allying with him was the surest way to assure Aim's safety from the attacks of our neighborhoods. I might have compromised my ideal, but if this land can be safe, then I will gladly commit such a sin. So you asked him to help you kill us, Nagato stated, his Rinnegan full of wrath. Well, no, Yagura replied. I simply heard he had problems with you, and I offered my assistance. I thought it would be a good hunt. And if your fabled eyes are of any indication, you are going to make a fine prey. Killing us will solve nothing, Yagura-sama. Yahiko shot back. Please, maybe we can talk. Haven't you understood, fool? Yagura chuckled, becoming clad in green chakra. I am not killing you to help Hanzo-kun, but because I hate you. I hate you all humans, and I will feed on your flesh and pain. His skin was torn, unleashing blood that stained his chakra black. I would have attacked you even if your death weren't needed, as it would put a smile on my face. I will devour you all, because I am the ultimate predator. Time to show you who is at the top of the food chain. The three ninja were now facing a monstrous beast, made of blood and chakra. Let the wild hunt begin. Satisfy my hunger. Kazama awakened at that instant. The dawn was coming. Shit, shit, shit. He repeated, holding his head as he rose up on his legs. They're going to die. Then, he remembered what happened back in the vault. Focusing, Kazama tried to use the divine power in him. Please, 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 please. Please bring me where they are, please let me help them. The image of a purple light pictured itself in his mind. A second later, he was in the middle of a field under a rain. A monster was laughing. A samurai was silent. A man with fabled eyes was crying. A woman was screaming, holding a corpse. Yahiko was dead, because Kazama had been too late. Omake. Nasuya. Omake. Nasuya. What is this? Kazama asked to Minato, who was reading a book. A familiar one, Ika Ika. Who said that word? Conan hissed, as she suddenly appeared in a puff of smoke. My angry woman senses tingling. It's not Ika Ika, but there's still a lot of porn inside, Minato explained. It's Jiraiya's new novel, Fate Stay Night. What's the story? Kazama asked. Well, I think it's yours. It's the story of a guy able to create copies of weapons, like you do with yourself, and has multiple love interests including a Sakura-like Tsunere and a Hinata-like shy girl with an abusive family, whose name happens to be Sakura. And one of the villains steals bodies, but is made of worms and not snakes. Oh, and the main villain also caused a catastrophe that destroyed part of a city and indirectly killed your adoptive father, who didn't really teach you all that much, and he wants to bring about the coming of a cosmic horror by killing 7 heroes. How dare he make a story about me without giving me rights over it? Kazama growled, that perverted bastard. Well, he apparently did something similar with a body-stealing villain, in a novel called Tsukihime. I think the blonde girl the hero lusts after is Tsunade, and the hero, being badass and able to woo multiple girls, the incarnation of all of Sensei's fantasies. Wait, Nagato stated. This reminds me of something. Nasu. Kazama snapped, hitting his fist into his palm. I remember meeting the guy on one of our jumps. He was writing some story about a chick in a red jacket. We were attacked by some cat things. It was horrible. Does that mean Jiraiya and Nasu are one and the same? Nagato asked. He blinked. Is that even possible? Horribly, yes, Kazama stated. How do you even know about Nasu, anyway? Deus Ex Machina Rinnegan. Oh, Kazama nodded, makes sense, and he looked at Minato. Do I at least get to woo the girl at the end? Well, yes. I think you can even get a threesome. Kazama smiled. Awesome. In another multiverse. A short immortal man with dyed green hair and enormous power reserves looked up at the air and frowned. I sense blasphemy being discussed. It must be corrected. A white-haired Tenten with her hair let down pouted with several weapons floating above her. Sensei. Stop being crazy again and train me. She spent the rest of the day avoiding being hit by lightning. Traveler Original Naruto, Kazama Arashi. Puppeteer Naruto, Chibaku Arashi. Were Fox Hybrid Naruto, Kitsune Arashi. Female Naruto, Naruko Arashi. Traveler Kakashi, Kamui. Deceiver Original Madara, Tsukiyomi. Destroyer Rinnegan Madara, Susanoo. Warrior Collector Madara, Amaterasu now dead. Currently, they are scattered in 4 worlds. Shadaime, Madara World. Chibaku, Sasori, Haku, Kubaiko. Godime, Itachi World. Kitsune, Gaara, Naruko. Mystery World for now Kazama, Tsukiyomi, Susanoo. Alive, Yondaime World. Kakashi, Yugito. Public announcement. Chapter 26. Zombie Duo. May Jashin-sama, God of Destruction, Murder and Chaos, give you his blessings. May the one true God show you the way and free you from th. Kakuzu snorted in impatience. Just finish your stupid ritual already. A tall, tanned man, the bounty hunter was wearing a purple shirt and pants, a white belt, a black mask and a hood, leaving only his green eyes uncovered. I must pray for the soul of this man, Hidan replied, muttering sacred words to the dead monk Chiriku. The priest of Jashin was a young silver-haired man with black eyes, wearing black robes, with his god symbol painted in white all over them. May Lord Jashin free your soul from the cycle of rebirth. May you find peace in the end of all things and the destruction of all spirits. May you find solace in the endless night. Kakuzu massaged his temples in frustration. Why did his partner always have to do these time-consuming rituals each time they killed a target? They just had to storm Chiriku's temple, kill him and get the bounty. That was all. But after they had butchered him and more or less everybody in the temple, he had insisted to make a prayer for each and every kill. Kakuzu had almost killed him on the spot before realizing, once again, that his partner couldn't be killed. Damn that immortality of his. What did he do to deserve this indignity? He had asked for a reliable partner that would last more than a few months, and Pain, may the Shinigami spit on his dead and insane soul, assigned him this idiot. What was worse was that the priest had for some insane reason decided to follow him, even after Akatsuki was long gone, just so he could save Kakuzu's soul by converting him to Jishinism. After 10 more seconds of useless waiting, Kakuzu flipped out at his partner. Enough. Why do you even pray for that guy, anyway? He doesn't even worship the same god as you. There is only one god, you ass, and it's Jashin-sama. Hidan snapped back, before calming himself. But even if this man was duped by false idols, he was still a man of faith. His pious soul deserves to be shepherded by Jashin-sama. Kakuzu rolled his eyes. There is one god in this world of ours, and it's called money. It has more followers than any other god, has temples also known as banks, priests commonly known as bankers, and even a hell, poverty. I think you should convert. Money is a nice god that doesn't care about rituals and always rewards its followers. Hidan's face reddened in rage, obviously struggling not to attack the bounty hunter. Must ignore partner's blasphemies. You're completely hopeless, Kakuzu stated flatly, before reading his what-to-do list. So, get money, I'm always doing that. Get more money, same as before. Permanently kill Hidan, to be determined. Put the money in a bank and check my growing accounts, later. Collect Chiraku's bounty, it will be done very soon, Kenta's request. Didn't do it. We'll do it after getting Chiraku's bounty. He looked at his partner. Get up and go to hell with your prayers, we have another job to do after this. Back to the bounty station, and then we go in the south. Does our new work involve defiling a sacred and ageless ritual with your blasphemies again? I would love to, but no. It's a kidnapping job. No murder, no ritual. Just rape a girl and a boy. If we kill somebody, it would be for free, and I hate free killing. Hidan stared at his partner in a mix of contempt and curiosity. Why do you always think about money? I'm sure you cuddle a bag of money when you sleep. Of course I do. Kakuzu lied, trying to mess with Hidan's mind. My poor money bag was all alone while I was off at work. I had to comfort it. You are crazy. Say the guy worshipping the god of evil. Jashin-sama isn't the god of evil, but of destruction. Hidan sighed. Who do we kidnap? Some kunoichi from Konoha, a medic called Rin Inuzuka, and her son, a genin called Obito. Our employer's messenger gave me their location, description, and what to do with them. And it doesn't involve ritualistic murders. Oh, those words are so enjoyable, I need to say them again. And it doesn't involve ritualistic murders, what a wonderful sentence. Sigh, I guess Jashin-sama won't welcome any more souls for a while. Money, on the other hand, always gets new followers, Kakuzu deadpanned. Silence non-believer. What? I am a man of faith. Why do you complain? I am a pious man. Hidan's expression was nothing short of priceless. You are a selfish, crappy bastard. Kakuzu chuckled. Took you all this time to get it. The cat, Yugito. Having never visited an intact, or non-assaulted Konoha in her life, the wreckage having razed it to the ground in her world, Yugito's first action was to visit the city. Of course, she had an ulterior motive. Getting away from the trio of hellions Itachi had called his genin team. The first thing that crossed her mind when she wandered around the main districts was peaceful. Konoha, or this Konoha, didn't have the militarized, oppressive atmosphere of other hidden villages she had visited in her lifetime. It was downright surreal. Nobody armed in the streets, no soldier in sight except the two Anbu keeping an eye on her from the roofs, and no civilian cowering in dread when crossing path with an obvious shinobi. The architecture itself reflected the peaceful atmosphere of Konohagakure. The fortifications weren't intimidating, beside the walls, and the Hokage heads engraved on the mountain looked like kind fathers, and not wrathful protectors. The gossip wasn't about what town would be destroyed next, but about who was richer than who or the Yondaime's new planned meeting with the Mizukage. Truly, this Konoha was a strange place. It might have something to do with the apparently global, mutual demilitarization of the hidden nations Itachi and Rin had briefly told her about. From what she had gathered from the villagers, Minato had convinced the other countries to accept a treaty of mutual disarmament years ago. Of course, ninjas were still ninjas. There were still armies, and shinobi were still killing people for a living. But the risks of war had been reduced to minimal and nations had engaged in warmer relations, both diplomatically and economically. The continent had entered an era of peace and prosperity, and was aware of it. Unlike her homeworld, It was actually quite nice to see so many people happy, and not be forced to fight on battlefields all the time, coming back scarred and guilt-racked. She knew that in this world, her despaired and suicidal dead friend N would have had the chance to live a good life, never being ordered to burn villages by ruthless generals. It was incredible how the sacrifice of the third Hokage had changed things for the better. The power of the fourth was enough to keep other nations in check, or so it seemed. She knew peace couldn't last long in the shinobi world, no matter how broken the power balance was. At the very best, it would probably start to fall apart as soon as the next generation came into power. "Oh come on, kitten," the Nibby shouted unhappily. "Enough with the bad mood. Enjoy this place, for once. And find us some milk." "I still don't feel at ease," Yugito replied mentally, walking through a merchant district. "This place looks off. Is it because it is too peaceful, or because all the girls you happen to see have a boyfriend?" Yugito blushed slightly. "Not again. I told you I am not ready for any relationship. Especially in my current situation. Hey, kitten, I have just had a brilliant idea. Why not try dating that Kakashi guy? I mean, he's handsome, looks strong, and have you stared at the face behind the mask? It is gorgeous. I would gladly give you tips on how to toy with him. He killed my lord personally, appears to have severe psychological problems, and looks too dysfunctional to be reliable. Plus the way I saw him look at Rin, it's obvious something bad happened to her in his own world, and he's still thinking about her. Not fun. Hey, what about Kazama? He is definitely going to be a lady killer when he finishes with puberty, like that Yondaime, plus he seems like a nice leader. Why not try getting your claws into him? Trust me, his hormones are going to run wild in his blood if you play your cards right. It would be a nice hunt. First thing, he's a double of N, my adopted brother. That alone is disturbing, and I have absolutely no idea if he is even alive, or where he is now. Well, why not chasing somebody older? If you ask me to court the Yondaime, and I know this is what you have in mind, I won't speak to you ever again. And if you suggest Itachi, and I'm sure this is what you intend to do next, I will adopt a dog and call it by your name. You are depressing, and extremely sadistic kitten. How can you expect me to play the matchmaker when you won't make any effort? And the dog threat was low. Yugito sighed inwardly. I don't want you to play matchmaker. Firstly, you are incredibly bad at it. Secondly, I don't feel like dating anybody right now. Thirdly, I might leave this world in the near future, making any stable relationship impossible. Fourthly, I don't think you understand love like we humans do. Kitten, teasing you is my most precious source of joy. Please, don't take that from me. The Nibby smirked. And what if I paired you with Sasori? Nibby. Relax, just joking. Yes, most certainly only a joke. I certainly did not tell you that seriously. I guess I don't understand your human mating rituals. I mean, it's like physical pleasure isn't everything. You are strange. Suddenly, Yugito turned around, catching a kunai midair with both her hands. She was still in the merchant district, in a crowded area. Who would be stupid enough to? Dynamic entry. 3 kids shouted, landing in front of her, much to her horror and the apathy of everybody else. Of course, they would do something like this, ignoring all common sense and natural shame. Not you again. Yugito cursed, glaring at the infernal trio. Team Naruto, at your service. The blonde kid smirked, his orange clothes still as ugly and clownish as ever. We found you, Cat-chan. I told you not to nickname M. Who cares? Obito chuckled. Plus, you really look like a cat. I'm sure you are keeping a tail hidden somewhere. At least you aren't as hard to get as Tora, Sasuke noticed, smiling sheepishly. But now, we can train again. I told you I wanted a break. Yugito snarled unhappily. When she had accepted to help Itachi with his genin team, she hadn't expected them to be so insufferable. True, Itachi's whispering the word sorry multiple times in a row should have hinted about what was coming. Her bad. You are driving me crazy. No excuses. Naruto shouted, taking one kunai in both his hands, soon imitated by both Obito and Sasuke. Time to die, you villain, what? He laughed at his teammates' disturbed expressions. I always wanted to say that once in my life. Briefly, Yugito wondered if these 3 weren't 3 sadistic, insane demons in disguise. Surprisingly, the crowd didn't appear bothered by the show. In fact, they almost seemed used to such display. You realize that if you kill me, you won't get any training. Yes, but defeating you will make me the new sensei. Obito smirked happily. Hey, I am going to be the sensei here, Obito-kun. Naruto shouted wrathfully, making the peace sign with his fingers. Unfortunately for him, Obito didn't seem to agree. In your dreams, buddy. I will make them reality, Kahai. Both of you are stupid, Sasuke said, appearing to be the voice of reason among the group, for about 10 seconds, as he quickly crossed the line between seriousness and goofiness. I am obviously the most mature, the most cool, the most fit to be the sensei here. Never. Both of his teammates shouted. Soon enough, the trio ignored Yugito altogether to focus on a glorious war of bickering and idiotic remarks. In a tornado of leaves, Itachi, wearing an Anbu uniform, appeared right next to Yugito, lightly blushing in shame. You understand now, he spoke calmly, why I asked for help. Yugito blinked, as the trio decided to settle their argument through a staring contest. Are they always like this? Itachi adopted a sorrowful, jaded look. All the time. Every single day since the moment they met. And they show no sign of stopping. Kitten, there is actually a perfectly understandable reason for their terrible behavior. They were driven insane by the color of that horrible jumpsuit this copy of N is wearing. Such overexposure to all that orange must be causing them seizures and aneurysms. Itachi sighed. I will take over from now on and attract their attention before it evolves into a sexy no jutsu contest. He frowned. Please, do not look at me like that, Yugito-san, it is indeed as horrible for the eyes as the name implies. You have my deepest thanks for the brief respite and moment of peace you gave me. No problem, but I don't think I will do it again, she said with a sheepish, yet determined look. I understand. In fact, you lasted the longest. The only other person that beat you at handling my team amongst Konoha's teachers is Jiraiya-sama, and that is because he is even worse than the three of them combined and taught them other terrible things. Remembering the old pervert, Yugito snorted. Let me guess. He taught them how to steal bras and had them train at doing it. Much, much worse than that. He convinced them to co-write one of his novels, Itachi replied, freezing Yugito's blood in sheer horror. And it became one of the year's top sellers. Each time I think they can't be more irrecoverable, they prove me wrong. I am older than civilization, but I have never seen that. It is a real achievement, kitten. Sighing, Yugito smiled. Tell me, are there any perverts in town? It has been a while before I could relax, and I would like to try your hot springs safely. Jiraiya-sama is fortunately working as our ambassador in Kumobikar. He insisted on taking the job after discovering the Kumo was, in his words, full of hot chicks with swords. What do you expect? I am attracted to violent women. Itachi sighed. I will make sure my students won't interrupt you, but I promise nothing. After thanking him, Yugito left for the public baths. A few minutes later, she was swimming naked in the female part of the springs. It felt good, finally having the chance to enjoy her stay in this place. How long had it been since she could relax like this? Maybe weeks. She had planned to go to the springs with Mabui, before the whole world traveling thing. She wondered how she was doing, with the destruction of the vault and all. Fine, I am sure. Kitten, cease to think about important matters, and enjoy yourself. True, Yugito suddenly realized she wasn't alone in the springs. Another woman was also there, relaxing against a rock. It was a slender, busty woman looking barely older than 20. She had long auburn hair, and when she sensed Yugito's presence, she stared at her with green eyes. Welcome, she said with a kind smile. I was feeling lonely, and now I have finally some company. My name is Mei Terumi, and you? Yugito paled in awe. She was in front of one of her idols, AS rank Kunoichi. Mei Terumi, the legendary Kunoichi of Kurigakure. It is an honor to meet you. You know me. She chuckled. You are too kind, and you seem to be quite the strong lass yourself. I can sense your enormous reserves. Quite impressive, indeed. I am, Yugito thought about an alias. After all, she might have seen her counterpart. Yugi. The absence of a last name wasn't all that strange, in the ninja world. She could always say she was an orphan if questioned. Happy to meet you, Yugi, Mei replied. Are you a ninja of Konoha? I am a traveler, Yugito stated, which technically wasn't a lie. I was accompanying someone whose family was living here. And you, Terumi-sama. Are you working as Kiri's ambassador? Correct guess, she replied, adopting a serious face. By the way, just call me Mei. Terumi-sama makes me feel old. I am just 21. Which was much younger than in her own world, Yugito noticed. Our Mizukage, Zabuza-sama, asked me to help our current representative, Ao-san. She snorted. This is incredibly boring. I have nothing to do except paperwork, and coming here. Sometimes, I wonder if becoming a traveler like you or Tsunade Heim wouldn't be better. Besides, she grinned, I might find a cutie along the way. You see kitten, even one of your idol wants a boyfriend, so find one already. Just shut up. You haven't found what you seek here, Mei. You are getting better, Mei chuckled. No, nobody, unfortunately. I like men a bit younger than myself, but there were no interesting males here for me unfortunately. There was that pretty Itachi boy, but he is so damn cold it's not even funny. His team apparently convinced him he had to take everything with stoicism and cool detachment. Is the whole world aware of these three hellions' insufferableness? Actually, yes. They participated in the latest Chunin exams in Iowa, and ended it pretty quickly by painting the whole village in orange before it could officially begin. Including the Tsuchikage, the sage knows how, in one single night. And then they engraved, Naruto Obito Sasuke Itachi, best friends forever. On the main plaza keystone in the center of the village. The countries annulled the event after it, and Iowa classified the team as a SS-ranked dangerous annoyance in their bingo book. The team is considered by the whole land of Earth as one of its archenemies. Mei sighed. You know, all the efforts the Yondaime Hokage had done to make peace with Iowa, even sending his son there, with an escort of course, crumbled in less than a day. The relations between the two nations are very cold now. Yugito face-palmed. Why am I not surprised? Mei simply laughed lightheartedly, before eyeing the hot springs entry. Yugito imitated her, and noticed two other women entering the place, covered with towels. Tsunade-sama, I told you twice the hole has been closed, a dark-haired girl stated. Shizune, I insist you check it anyways, a blonde, busty woman replied, she had a well-known seal on her forehead. Jiraiya managed to peek at me once that way, and I don't want anyone else to do it. The toad barely survived my wrath, and I don't want to be charged with murder during my visit. Tsunade Heim. Yugito almost drowned in shock and awe. Lady Tsunade, I am honored to meet you, Mei greeted her respectfully. The Sanin noticed both women, and smiled. Enchanted to meet you too, Mei Terumi. You honor the kunoichi everywhere. She stared at Yugito, and frowned. Wait, you are the girl Minato-kun showed me a photo of, Kamui's companion. Mei raised an eyebrow briefly, but said nothing. I am Yugi, Yugito nodded, both trying to keep her identity safe and happy to meet another idol. After the Hellions' nightmare, she had finally begun having a good time. Meeting you is like a dream come true. Tsunade blushed. You're too kind. I am sure you have many adventures you can indulge us with while we relax, Mei smiled. Please, could you tell them? If you like, Tsunade stated. But first, the peeking hole. Closed, as always, Shizune replied tiredly. Good. Too good to be true, but, she sighed. Well, I guess I have luck for once. She smiled, getting rid of the towel. Incoming. And she jumped into the water. The healed man, Kakashi Kamui. Hey, Kakashi, Kamui told his Anbu counterpart, as the two were eating at the Ichiraku without their masks. As Guy, in spite of all the changes between this world and my own, still your rival. Did you have them mention that? The other Jonin asked, as Ayame gave them both a bowl of ramen with a smile. The twins both thanked her in perfect synchronization. Yes, he is still my self-proclaimed arch-rival. And his student considers himself as Obito's arch-rival. I am sure Lee's student will be my grandson's archenemy in time. It's like a family curse that will be transmitted from one generation to the next. Kamui nodded, smiling slightly. And, did you make him your best man, as I intended to? Yes, the Anbu confirmed, eating bits of ramen. Minato was presiding over the ceremony. It was a wonderful wedding. Observing his counterpart's sorrowful expression, the Anbu lowered his gaze in shame. Sorry. What's done is done, Kamui said with a distant tone. I am just grateful you have led a happy life. And that at least once, I didn't screw things up, he thought. You can still have one here, the Anbu Kakashi smiled, putting a hand on his twin's shoulder. Why don't you install yourself here? Obito likes you, everybody else does. You can become a Jonin, find another family with our help, and see your children grow peacefully. Kamui closed his eyes. True, this world was almost all he ever wanted. His father figure was alive, his counterpart was the brother he never had, Rin was still alive, and he could see the son he could have had, Obito, become a fine ninja. Minato had apparently dealt with both the Madara and Orochimaru threats, maintaining a fragile time of peace. But, I can't, he said. I have another family that needs me more than you do. I have a student with issues that desperately needs a mentor, and who is pursued by dangerous enemies. I don't know what happened to the rest of my ragtag clan, but I must find a way to see them again. The Anbu Kakashi nodded, surprised, but accepting his choice. I think Minato might be able to help you, he said, retiring his hand. He is the best space-time jutsu user in the world. If someone can find a way to discover what happened and help you, it's him. However, with his work and bad relationships, it might take time. Bad relationships. Kamui frowned. Naruto. Yes, among others, the Anbu Kakashi said. You see, Sensei doesn't have much free time due to his work. As such, he rarely spends time with his son. My personal theory is that Naruto's antics, crazy schemes and horrible clothes are his way of telling him, notice me. He sees his father more when he's in detention for bad behavior than at home. Kamui narrowed his eyes. It reminded him of his former student, Sakura, and her way of hiding her insecurities behind a mask of shamelessness. And he doesn't do anything about this. Sensei might be an incredible ninja, but he is quite bad at human relationships, he replied. His lover, Makoto-sama, is doing her best to be a good mother figure to the boy, but he still craves his father's attention. Wait, just wait, Kamui's eyes were wide open. Sensei and Makoto. This Makoto. Ever since Fugaku was killed in action, he had been visiting her, mostly to help her deal with her sorrow and look after his friend's sons, as he promised he would to the former Uchiha boss. One thing led to another, and 2 years ago, they began an affair. Not many are in on the secret, but it's when Naruto and the Uchiha brothers had met and become friends, Obito joining a short time later. The Anbu sighed. Makoto is a nice and kind woman, but Naruto still lacks a father. Maybe he should delegate responsibilities to others. Kamui pointed out. Like you. Or use Kage Bunshin. We already tried that. He is still a bit too stubborn for his own good. He's convinced he needs to do everything alone. Most of the Kage Bunshin are helping him manage the village. The Anbu Kakashi sighed. Rin could help him even more than she currently does, but... Speaking of Rin, Kamui spoke. Where is she? Occupied, the Anbu replied. A genin called Kabuto Yakushi told us he had a beautiful house to sell outside the city. After seeing the photos of it, we were thinking about making it a nice place for our vacations. Rin was to visit it with Kabuto and Obito, but my son got grounded this morning for using a kinjutsu called the sexy no jutsu in public, so she went on alone. I don't feel worried, she's a jonin after all. And nobody is after her. Kamui nodded. He remembered that house. He had bought it with Rin soon after the beginning of their relationship, hoping to retire there and raise a family peacefully. The house was empty and silent. Rin and Obito had vanished. Traces of a fight were all over the place. He searched for them, but found nothing but despair and fear. A week later, he received a dead body as gift and a letter as a challenge to meet his fate, and when he had finally found her, it was only to be greeted by death and a sadistic, sinister laugh. And this is the house where Kenta had her kidnapped in Kamui's world. His body moving on his own due to one terrible intuition, Kamui shot out of the restaurant and raced toward the town's exit, leaving a very surprised Anbu behind. The cat, Yugito. This really was a dream come true. After the hot springs, Tsunade and Shizune had offered to invite Yugito and Mei to a local restaurant. They had of course accepted, honored to be invited by a Sanin. The restaurant was quite classy with a terrace and everything. Tsunade had asked for a table outside in order to get some sun. She had opted to wear a cyan and purple outfit, showing her perfect curves to everybody. Shizune was wearing a similar one, yet black. Mei was wearing a blue, long-sleeved dress, a white belt, and mesh shirt and leggings. Having sat, the women had began to chat about themselves, exchanging stories of their own. Why did you come here, Tsunade-hime? Mei asked. I thought you had left this place years ago. I did, the Sanin replied. And I am not part of Konoha's armed forces. But, I come from time to time to see the few people here I do like. Jiraiya also asked me to watch over his student's son when I had the time. She sighed. However, this time, the reason I have come is to report that another member of Akatsuki has been killed within Kumo's borders, leaving only 2 alive. While Yugito didn't know what they were talking about, but focused, as they were talking about her homeland, Mei nodded in understanding. So my information was correct. The Toad Sanin is not only an ambassador, but also working to chase the few of them that took shelter inside Kumo's territory. With Kumo playing both sides, it was almost mandatory, Tsunade nodded. Kumo has always been looking to undermine all the other nations. After all, they were the only major country to refuse participating in the anti-Akatsuki operation that removed Pain and Madara from power in Omegakure, and the fact they were Odogakure's source of funds was an open secret. Jiraiya proved that, unlike all the Raikage's claims, he had indeed offered shelter to one of Akatsuki's survivors, Deidara. Fortunately, Jiraiya dealt with him quietly and Kumo officially praised him, since they couldn't say they were letting AS-rank missing nin roam free at their home. Somehow, Yugito felt a had again caused unnecessary troubles. It didn't truly surprise her. Akatsuki. I am surprised you didn't hear of it, Mei said blankly. It was a mercenary organization composed of S-rank ninjas that attempted to start another shinobi war, years ago by secretly taking over countries and pushing them to attack each other so they could take over the world and destroy the ninja order while their targets were distracted.